What's up, guys? Welcome back for another episode of the Max Off-Road Podcast. Today in the studio, we got Cooper Abbott. Cooper earned third in the Endurocross Championship this year. He's one of my main training partners here in Arizona. He's an absolute G. He's got a lot of great perspective on the sport, and he really shares a lot of insight into how he improves, what his mindset is, and some of the things that he's done to unlock some of his recent success and what his journey has looked like overall. So take this ride with us. I hope you like this episode. A quick word from our sponsors. First and foremost, slavensracing.com. These guys have been so great to work with, and they have the best customer service in the game. If you have a KTM, a Beta, a Sherco, any of these things, if you're having struggles with the setup, call their customer service. They will help you out. This is by riders for the riders. So if you like what we're doing here on the podcast, you like hard enduro, you like Endurocross, then choose to purchase from the guys over at Slavens, because they help us out so much and they're all about the sport. Slavensracing.com. Slavens, thank you guys so much for all your support. Bulletproof Designs is another one of my hugely favorite companies. High quality billet aluminum protective products made right here in the USA. USA, baby! This stuff is the best. Me and Cooper both run all their shit, and I don't know, I have their stuff bolts right on. It always bothers me when you get an aftermarket part and you go to put it on and it doesn't fit right. It's like, okay, did you guys test fit this? But that is not the case with Bulletproof Design. Their shit fits right up every single time, and it's a lifetime warranty. So their customer service is solid. The people working there are great. They involve themselves with the sport that we love so much. So run their stuff, keep your bike safe so you can keep riding weekend after weekend without having to keep fixing your bike. Let's get into the episode. Thank you guys so much for following along. Let's run it, baby.
Killed it.
All right, we're rolling, man. We got you in the studio. Thanks for coming by.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude, it's been a big year, and we seem to spend a lot of time together, training, racing, being around each other.
Absolutely, man. Like at least 3 times a week, 4 times a week, I feel like we've been together, especially during Endurocross.
It's pretty cool. It's like definitely something to be grateful for, like having the camaraderie and like being able to train with each other. It's not like we have a whole bunch of people to train with anyway, so I feel like it's so important for us to iron sharpens iron, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's good. Like in a way it sucks only having one track, but in a way it's also good because then it's like whether you want to train with another person or not, like you kind of have to. So it's nice, you know, we all push each other, and even when Johnny's here, like it's nice because I mean whoever shows up in Arizona, even when the round's local, it's like there's a lot of people and it's definitely dusty, but
totally
it makes it nice.
I know if we could get water to that track, it'd be so much better. Yeah. But think how much we learned from each other too, like from watching each other.
Yeah, 100%. Like whenever you're out there, like we each do sections differently, and then even when like Johnny shows up, like we've spent so many laps around that track, and then he shows up and does something like different, and like maybe it's not even faster, but it's just like such a different way to like look at things and hit things. And it's like it's cool because like you'll hit something different, or we'll have like different lines that like works for us, and then like I'll try your line and I'm like, gosh, I can't get it the same.
Yeah,
so it's kind of cool, like, you know, you can try different lines, and it's hard when you're out there like by yourself. You can't do that. So.
Totally. Training by yourself is not as good, and it's wild, like even at this level everybody does something a little bit differently, like how Johnny's just ultra smooth and he's got like impeccable timing. Yeah. With like when he lands and like using his bike and his suspension. You're just like super aggressive, and you're not afraid to do it. Like it's, and not like you're not smooth, but like just your aggression is what kind of, I feel like you're just like durable, like you can hit stuff hard every lap. Yeah. And then me, like I don't know, like just consistent and like
the tractor, just keep going. You're gonna put a 54 after 54 after 54 like every single lap. I'm like, yeah, it's cool though. Like that's what's so unique about, like I feel like our sport is like everybody has like a different style. Like we're all going close to the same speed, but it's like everybody has their way of doing it, and it's like, you know, you try to like learn from each guy differently, but it's weird. Like you, no matter how much you try to like, I try to see what you do and learn from that. Like we're still all gonna have like our main things that we do, and like I'm always gonna be like more aggressive. Like like Johnny like always rides off the rear wheel so much. Like,
so
it's
much.
crazy. Like even Billy does the same thing. It's like whenever I was riding Johnny, like I was trying to do it in the rocks, and literally I kept almost going over the bars because I was like try to get off the rear wheel, and then the front would drop and I almost died. I'm like, I don't know how he does this. Like, and they, you know, it's so effortless, but it's different.
It must be like a throttle control balance thing. I mean, obviously it is, but it is weird how they just can kind of like keep that front end going. And a thing with Johnny is like he never sets the front end down very hard. You were like you said, like I'll try to, and then I'll like get a little timid, like set it down, and then it's like da da, and then when you're going through rocks and you set the front end down like a little harder than you need to, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, puts so much force in the forks. Like, yeah, that's the thing. I remember, I think it was just Johnny and I one day, and we were like practicing rocks, and I was like, you know, we had like our turning rock section, and he was like wheeling out the last like 7-8 feet, and I was like, all right, like I have to try to figure out how he's doing this, because like, you know, we were probably going the same speed, but like it would make it so much easier if I can just float the front end. And so I like kept trying it, and like literally had so many close calls, and I like got it once, and I was like, oh yeah, like I think I got it figured out. Next time, almost over the bars again, and I'm like, literally, I was like 1 for 5 every single time I try it.
The trials guys seem to have really good like rear wheel control, and they just have a very good understanding of the balance of the chassis.
Yeah.
You know?
It's crazy.
And then like when another thing that I feel like people don't think about is like when you set the front end down, the force going into the front end is like almost double, because you have to think the front end's coming down, but then that's taking weight off your rear end too.
Yeah.
So it's like it's unweighting your rear end. The more you weight your front, the more you're unweighting your rear. There's only so much your weight has to go somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like the shock works so much better too. Like you know, when you watch him, like his stuff looks so good, but it's like more so because he's just taking all the weight off the front end, and the rear's like just packed in,
planted.
So planted, you know, where we're like kind of fighting too, you know, like our forks and shock, like they're like fighting each other in a way sometimes in rocks, because you're like trying to get back, and then like the forks are unweighted, but then they clip a couple of rocks and it like wants to deflect. So it's like, man, if you can like lean back like they do, it's just like it just seems so easy though. They're like, he's like, yeah, just like lean back, and I'm like, it ain't that easy.
It's not that easy.
I'm trying to lean back, like. Literally.
Well, then if you watch Johnny's legs through the rocks, like he's like using his legs the whole time. So he's like managing. He's not just leaning back and putting weight on the rear tire. He's managing that weight on the rear tire.
Yeah, it's crazy, you know. And it's like I feel like it's got to be the trials background, but it's like, you know, you try to like simulate that, and it's, you know, I can do it like time to time, like on my rock section once I get like comfortable on it. Like I kind of do it at home. But then it's like you go to a race and it's a new rock section. It's like, man, I got to like relearn how to do this. And it's not like you have the time to like practice it like throughout the race. It's like, right, you have enough time to like pick your line, and then, all right, that's your line. Like
then it's go time.
Yeah, it's go time. So it's weird.
Where did your style come from? Like, how did you develop your riding style?
Honestly, I feel like I didn't ride a ton like growing up, and that's like what people always like thought I like started super young. So like I was like a ball and stick sport, played basketball, football, ran track like a bunch. You know, I obviously with my dad, like I had a bike growing up, which is nice, you know, like a lot of kids don't get that. But like I really never rode. Like I didn't have like a super big drive to ride, like none of that. Like, and then I think when I was like 14, I finally like got a drive to like want to ride, and like really found like the passion and enjoyment in it. And like when I found that, I wasn't like, oh, now's the time, like I want to go pro. Like that literally still was never the goal. Like it was just like, oh, this is fun, like I'll ride when I can. And like was fortunate to have a bike because of my dad. And yeah, it's weird though. Like I feel like I started riding moto and was terrible, like literally so bad. And then I went and raced. I think my first race was a works race, and then raced works for quite a few years. So I think I kind of gained like a moto background. But then also like once I started getting into it, we built like a little trials area in the backyard, and I had a trials bike. So I kind of like would ride like a ton of moto and then ride trials. So it was like kind of a weird combination of like I wasn't riding any hard enduro, any endurocross at that time. And then, yeah, I was all of a sudden I found endurocross. My dad was racing it, and I'd like go around, like I'd ride moto or like a work style track, and then I'd go to the endurocross track when they were practicing with like Taylor, and even you were there and all that, and started kind of just trying to get over logs and try not to wad myself, and then started enjoying that. And then all of a sudden went to Vegas and raced the first round, and then I was pretty much hooked from there. And raced Endurocross, and it's weird. Like I come from a moto background, but never like raced moto. So then like rode works until 2019 was my last year of works, and then transitioned to hard enduro. So like I have like a weird, I don't have, I would say like the normal bring up where either like guys come from trials and then hard enduro, or like moto and then, you know, maybe they'll go to works. Like I kind of went moto, works, hard enduro, endurocross. Like it's kind of in a way went through them all. So I think I feel like I like took a skill kind of from each one and like put it into my style.
For sure.
Like I like to be smooth, but I'm like, everybody like calls me the sendy guy. I like to send stuff, but like I'm less and less of that as I get older. But I feel like I'm very precise is like one thing. Like I try to always like think when I hit stuff, like I'm not just like, when I look like, oh, you can jump from that log to that log, I'm like not just gonna do it because I think you can do it. Like I'm gonna be like, all right, if I can, I'm 90% chance no I can do this. I'm not gonna be like, oh, 50-50 chance.
For sure.
Yeah, send it. But I don't know, it's weird. Like I just kind of gained a style from all of them and kind of put it all together, and
all your different experiences.
It is what it is now. And you know, I feel like I still try to learn, and I'm very analytical and like the way I look at people's riding styles and all that. And so I try to, you know, still take from each guy, whether it's you or Johnny or Billy or Tristan, whoever it may be. I try to look at, you know, the things that they do well that maybe I struggle with, and try to, you know, apply that to my style now.
Just like constantly learning, I feel like is such an important big part of success in life, not just motorcycle riding, but like, and I think that's where dirt bikes can really empower an individual, because if you want to get better at it, you have to embrace a growth mindset, and then you can apply that same growth mindset to every other aspect of your life.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's the thing. I feel like racing like applies to life so much as well. As like, you know, like most of us, I mean, as sad as it is, we don't really have like degrees, you know, outside of, you know, racing a dirt bike. But the thing is like, I feel like you learn so much because it's like we have so many like trials and like failures, and like we, you know, you get better and like you trend in a good direction, and then you have like downward spirals and, you know, and you like
plateau.
Yeah, you plateau, and then you drop back down, and you're like, man, like I got to figure out how to get back. And you like, you kind of have to like relearn everything over and over and over again, you know. And it's like, it's a constant cycle. It's like, even, you know, once you win, like it isn't just like, oh yeah, now you win, like you're good, now you're just gonna keep winning. Like, you know, some of the guys make it happen, but it's like, even with those guys that win, like nobody sees behind the scenes of like then the struggle, and like, you know, like it's just, it's weird. Like you don't ever, it's not just like a constant upward.
No, it's not.
It's
this,
like literally
it's
just like literally mountains and valleys, just like constantly. So
totally.
It's kind of cool, you know, like it's stressful on your mind and it's a lot. Yeah.
Well, I could see how, as like a young kid, like before you were 14, when it started to click, how you'd be like, yeah, like I don't know if this is really what I want to do, because your dad was competing at his highest level during that stage of your life. So it's not really like there was room in the household for two people chasing that life, you know. And like, plus like you're a kid, and you know, there's like all this natural pressure to like want to be like your dad and like live in his footsteps. And you're just like, it's just like, you're just like a little kid going through all these different things. Like, I don't know if this is what I want to do. And I feel like having a dad that is Destry Abbott, as successful as he is, could be a strength at this point in your career, but it could also be a weakness too, because it almost make you want to like not do it as much as it would make you want to do it. Yeah, definitely. Like there's definitely pluses and minuses to it, you know. Like there's definitely times when it was like, man, like this is a struggle because of this, you know. Everybody looks at like, oh man, you're so grateful to have your dad there, and like 100%, like I learned so much from him. But also there's times when it's like the mental pressure of like, that's a lot to take on. And I think that was when I was growing up, is like, I think different than a lot of like father sons that, you know, make it, say like the Everts or like, you know, other people like that. And it's, my dad was so successful later on in his career, where normally like guys are done like young 30s, you know, mid 30s at the latest, you know, which normally then would have been right around the age where I started kind of enjoying it a lot more. But like my dad was, I think his last win was when he was 38. So like, or maybe even older. How old were you then?
They had me when they were 24, so I would have been 38. Would have been I can't even do math right now. I think I would have been 14. That was horrible.
Well, how 14?
Yeah. So that was 14. So literally that was like
the turning point.
Yeah, right at the end of his career was like kind of like when I was like, all right, like this is fun and I enjoy it. But like that's the thing is like, it's not like he had the time to say like, go take me out and like go ride. Like I could go out when he was riding, but like at the end of the day, he was still racing professionally.
He's training.
He still has to go do his training. He still has to go do his job. It's not like he can go take me like after riding, then he's going to the gym, doing all that. Like at that age where I was like, you know, a lot of kids are getting bred kind of from their father. He was still racing professionally, still trying to do it successfully.
Totally.
To where I was like, all right, like I kind of had my basketball thing, and we, you know, we were all super close. I still went to like majority of the races and all that, but like I never looked at it and like was like, oh, this is what I want to do. Like, so that's what's like such a different way of getting like, you know, brought up is like
so different.
Yeah. And so now it's like, it's super helpful. Like there's obviously been ups and downs, you know, with having your father there. Like racing is so close, and, you know, and it sometimes like we are very similar. So, you know, there's been times where we butt heads, and there's been years where it's been great. And then there's been years where it's, you know, more of a struggle because it's hard. You know, you have you have to separate the dad from the coach,
for sure.
Which is, I think a lot of people don't think about that, you know, unless you come from a father-son background of like training. Like it's hard to separate the two. Like, you know, there's times when I'm like, man, like I just want you to be a dad right now. Or there's times when like, all right, I need the coach. Like, you know, it changes quick. And it's like, I think for him, even it was a learning curve as well. Like
for sure.
To know, all right, when do I need to be dad and when do I need to be coach? Because like there's certain races where it doesn't go well and it's like getting ringed at, you know, and it's like, it's different, you know, people don't see that side, and it's, you know, it's a hard thing, I think, to battle between a dad and a trainer, you know, and I now obviously as I'm a lot older, you know, I feel like we've figured it out pretty well. And obviously my family's been through a lot, which I think has brought us all closer. And so that's, you know, it comes together, and it's taken more time than I would have liked, you know, for the combination from my career to, you know, grow in the way it has. I feel like I'm very much a slow developer. Like I almost analyze too much to where like I look at everything too much, and I like, you know, form, training, all of it. Like it's like almost like too into detail to where it's like I can't just like show up to the start line and like let my mind shut off and go race, you know, like I'm thinking like, oh, foot position, all that. Like, you know, like you're taught so much from a young age, like all the technique and like the way you race and like the styles and all that, and like what to do during certain situations. Almost like as I was coming up, like I was thinking about everything too much. Like my mind was just going the whole time I was racing. Like I couldn't just like, all right, like be zoned in, you know, like I had certain races where I'd kill it because I could just like find that zoned in portion. But then there are certain races where I'm like thinking like 24/7, and it's like, it's taken a lot of time to like, you know, balance those two.
Bro, experience. That's where experience comes in. Because like if you don't, the only way to get race experience is to race and to just spend time in a race scenario. Because, dude, when that it's like the best way to describe it, it's like similar to getting in a fight. Like there's no other way to get that feeling other than to do that thing.
Yeah.
So it's like it takes time to develop. And talking about your dad and the coach dad relationship, you know, it's easy for us as like the kids to be like, oh, my dad should be doing this, or I don't like, you know, he's yelling at me, or whenever they do something right or whenever they do something wrong. We have to remember this is our parents' first time experiencing this as well.
Yeah.
They're just doing the best that they can. Like I think back to my parents when they were raising me as a kid. I'm like, that was their first time doing this. Yeah. That was the first time raising a maniacal boy. So it's like, obviously they're going to make mistakes. Yeah. Nobody's going to be perfect the whole time, but that's the whole thing. You learn and you figure it out as you go.
Yeah, 100%. That's the thing. I feel like one thing like I learned is like it's everybody's first time through life. Like nobody, no matter what situation is coming up, for the majority of people, it's their first time, you know? Like, and that's the thing. I think there has to be grace in those kind of times. Totally. And I think a lot of times it's hard to have grace, you know, when you're, you know, there's a lot of pressure on and stuff like that, and emotions and family involved and all that. But it's like, it is everybody's first time through life and through every pretty much situation. So as much as, you know, the child, like when I was a kid, I was, you know, didn't want things certain ways, or I did want things certain ways. Like he's also the same way. He thinks it should be this way, thinks it should be that way. Like, no matter what, it's never going to be a perfect eye to eye, and everybody has to kind of have a little grace there. And I feel like that's one thing that, you know, we've kind of came to terms with. And like, you know, as you get older, it's like you mature and can see things in a different way. When you're younger, like, you maybe can't see everybody's perspective,
right?
You know, and as you get older now, you see people's perspective and you can see why certain things were taken in certain ways. And so it's kind of cool now to like look back and see, like, you know, all the ups and downs and like now where it's at, you know. But like when you're in it, it's like, man, this is tough.
And remembering to give people the benefit of the doubt and know that they're just doing the best that they can. And especially like somebody like your parents, they have my best interests. Their intentions are for me, have my best interests in them. Like, they're not trying to do anything malicious, you know, like, so just giving parents and people the benefit of the doubt has been such a game changer for my mindset in life too. Like, getting road rage or something at somebody driving slow in the left lane, then you get up next to him and you look over at him and it's like a little old lady doing the best that she can. You're like, like, okay,
she's like 90 driving.
I hate myself now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, well, if that lady was stuck on the side of the road with like a flat tire, like I would help her. So why am I mad at her for doing the best she can in the left lane? Like, okay, chill, bro. It's not worth it. Like, so that's been a game changer for me, just giving other people the benefit of the doubt. And like you said, we're all just living this life for the first time and we're all learning as we go. So
100% on that point. Like, I feel like I'm a very easygoing person, and like people are like, man, like, how do you just let things slide? Or like, I've kind of just let things go. And like, as you've gone through things in life, like, you learn what stuff is to stress about and what stuff you kind of just need to let go, and like what stuff is worth it. And like, that's what you said, even with that, like when you're driving and you get like mad at somebody, it's like, man, you have no clue what that person's going through, you know? Like, at the end of the day, you don't know, like, financials, health, family issues. Like, you have no clue what anybody's going through. And I feel like that's, like, one thing, even with, like, social media now, is, like, people are so quick to jump on anything and everything that they possibly can. And, like, social's awesome for so many things, even like this. And, like, there's so many cool ways you can stay in connection with certain people. But there's also so much bad, I think, that comes from it in the way of, like, people just jump to conclusion and have no clue what's going on, you know? Everybody, like, that's the thing. You can create such a, you know, fake life on social media.
Totally.
And, like, everybody's like, oh, that looks great, or, oh, they're wealthy, or all that. Like, you have no clue if they're into debt and about to go bankrupt, or, like, any of that. That's what's so crazy, is, like, you can, you know, show what you want and not really what's actually going on. And, like, that's what's crazy, is you can't look at a picture or look at a video and be like, oh man, they're doing great. Like, you can't compare your life to anybody else's. Like, you just have to live your life, do your best. It's everybody's first, you know, do what you can. And it's like, don't look at everybody else's or judge yours against everybody else's, because most likely that's not the actual truth of what's going on.
And when I think a lot of people that get on social media and are talking shit or pointing fingers or criticizing somebody for something, that's just projection of how they feel about themselves at the end of the day. Especially when, like you're saying, with the comparative, people are on there, they're scrolling all day on Instagram and they're just comparing themselves to the best parts of everybody else's life, or what is perceived as the best parts of everybody else's life, and it looks like that's what it's like all the time. And they're just judging themselves on that, like, I don't have this, I'm not a that, I don't. And then they just start, and then it just kind of like breeds this like inner hatred that they put out towards others. And it's like, it almost makes you have sympathy for those people,
100%.
You know, those people, and the same people that are having road rage and screaming and flipping you off for no reason, or the people that are talking shit on social media or whatever. Like, those people are just struggling in their own self.
Yeah, it can go in so many ways. And like, even there's times when I've like ridden with kids, say like practicing, I've ridden with them and say there's like a video guy out there, and rode with them, and, you know, had fun doing motos, all that. Like, you know how the motos went that day and how they rode, and then you see a video and you're like, if I was to watch that video and like wasn't riding with them that day, I would think that kid is ripping. Like, I'll be like, man, he has a shot to like win. But then like, if you're actually out there, like, you're like, we pretty much almost lapped him in every moto. Like, and that's what's so crazy, is like, you watch people's styles, like even you watch Jet, like such a fluid style and like all that, like, but then you watch him in the whoops, like if that video wasn't there where he almost died in
Paris.
Yeah, in Paris, like literally it was so gnarly. But it's like, as good as those guys are and as good as everybody is, like there's still mistakes that happen. Like, like that video at Paris, he's probably not saved it practicing at home. Like, and that's what's like, you can give a perception of all that. And even when it comes to health, like people at races, like people are complaining about injuries. I'm like, man, everybody on this line has an injury right now. Like at the end of the day, like, yes, the series is short, say for Endurocross or even especially like Supercross, our series is long. All those guys have little minor injuries, whether they're big or small is the biggest thing there. But like, if you go complaining, like everybody's like, come on, like, yeah, it's everybody's dealing with stuff right now.
Man up, dude.
Yeah.
And dude, it's like, and not only just like little injuries, but it's like, there's a fine line between like wear and tear on the body and an injury too. It's like, where does wear and tear stop and an injury begin? You know what I mean? Like your ankles and your shoulders and your back and your neck, like dude, like something's gonna bother you no matter what a lot of times, and you just have to just like, hey, I'm here for a job. This is what I'm here for. Like, none of this matters. The only thing that matters is how I do tonight.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's the thing. Like some days you wake up and you feel great, and then some days I wake up and I'm like, I feel like I'm 50, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, and that's what's so hard is like at the end of the day, like people only know how you do in your result. Like they don't know like whether you were sick, whether you have a little injury, whether like you're just burnt out. Like there's so much that goes into it.
Mental stuff, dude.
Like there's so much, even like life stuff, like a lot of people don't know what's going on in your life, and like you mentally have to shut everything out and go into that start line and go do your job, and like that's one thing that I struggled with. Like
we were talking about that earlier. You're like needed more race experience.
Yeah, like I need more race experience. Like I struggled separating, mentally what was going on at home, and showing up to the race, because like I'd practice and like there was years where at practice like I was going pretty good and I was going to the races and it wasn't even close, and it was mentally like I couldn't separate the two.
Like I just want to be home right now, like I can't.
And it's weird, like, and people don't know that, and there's no point in being open about it because it's like not gonna be like a woe me kind of a situation.
Exactly. Yeah,
like,
I don't want to play like victim of my own scenario.
Yeah, I'm not trying to get anything out of that. Like that's never the goal. But it's like at the end of the day, people see results and it's like, oh man, like why does that guy have a factory ride, or why does that guy have this or that? And it's like yes, it comes down to results, but there also it comes down to more than that as well.
What key lessons did you learn along the way? You said that you struggled to like be able to be present and like in the zone when it came time to race. Like, did you learn anything specific, like breathing techniques, preparation, listening to certain types of music, sleeping habits? Did you pick up anything along the way that like really helped make things click for you?
Yeah, to be honest, like, so I believe it was last year, I hired a mental coach because I was like, man, like I should be doing better than I am in certain instances, and it's like, I was like, what am I struggling with here? Like, why can I not get to this race and, perform the way I should be performing? And that's one of the things, like talking through stuff with somebody, like it was so helpful. And like, it took time. Like as I was going through it, I only started like a month before Endurocross last season. And it's like, I was learning so much about myself, and almost like, they almost give you a different way to view things. Like you almost view your racing from an outside perspective of like, all right, what am I actually struggling with? Because when you're in it, it's so hard to see what you're actually struggling with, where like a lot of people outside can tell you, but if they're not close enough to like be with you and tell you, like it's going to be so difficult. And like, yeah, like we had, I had certain breathing exercises and just like, honestly, just like talking about certain things that like, I'm a pretty closed book. Like I don't really release a lot of what I do, or, even my emotions or inside or anything like that. Like pretty closed off, and everybody kind of knows that that's close to me. So like, you just have to like, talk through stuff and like be able to like, as you continue to talk about stuff, like you almost learn more about yourself as you talk it out loud, because like as you hold stuff in, it's like you think you know a lot about yourself, but it's like I almost learned how to handle my stress, because like I couldn't separate the two. Like when I would leave home and go to the race, like I was stressed all the time. Like I was almost more stressed when I was gone. And like I had to realize like, all right, this is my job. Like I need to, if I don't fix this, like I ain't gonna have a job like soon, And a lot of it just came down to like breathing exercises and like looking at my life and like looking at my racing from like an outside perspective of like, all right, like instead of just like going to every race, like trying something different at every race, like I try different stuff at every race and like nothing is working. Like instead of like trying something different every race, like just continue with what you're doing and figure out what it is that you're doing that's not working instead of trying something new at every single race, which is what I was kind of trying to do. Because then I'm like, I was even more lost because I was like, no matter what I try, it's not working. To where I just kind of kept on, all right, like just keep doing the same thing. Like, let's figure out. And then like, I just over time, you know, it wasn't like it just clicked. Like almost like last season, you know, I had a podium at the last round, but like it was kind of a building year and a learning year in a way of like, you know, obviously I am older, but it's like I almost felt like I took last year as like a learning year. Like as I was going through with my mental coach, it sucks, but like that season was almost also a mental coach in a way of like, you know, certain instances I was in, I learned how to handle like certain instances better mentally and like go through things better mentally. And it's hard to explain, you know, like how to get through it better, but like 100% like breathing was one of the biggest things. I could sit in a quiet room and have breathing exercises, and it seems so dumb and so simple to just like sit there and breathe. And
so hard to do.
Yeah, it's like so hard to do. And it's like, you know, I had a notebook and wrote down things that I was good at and things that I struggled with, because, you know, if you think about certain things at a race, or like I was really bad at like negative thinking. Like that was one of my big struggles, was like, you know, negative thoughts would come in at a race and I'm like, man, like you cannot have that. And like 100% this year was like the first year where I was like, man, like finally like was able to kind of eliminate that. And, you know, there's certain times like we all have it, you know, you're riding and you're like thinking about lunch or you're thinking about like random ass stuff, and it's hard not to do, but like you just have to find ways that works for you to like eliminate your weaknesses and eliminate the stuff that like distracts your mind.
Totally. And like it sounds like for you, finding the thought processes and the thought habits that weren't serving you was as important as finding the things that did work for you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it was more, that's like the biggest thing there was like, it wasn't even more about like finding what worked for me. It was more about finding what didn't work for me.
Right.
You know, where I was kind of always searching, all right, well, what works? Like, what do I need to change to make work for me? And it's like, you're just still continuing at the same path of everything else. So like maybe there's something within your program that's not working for you that you need to change, instead of just continuing to add. Like I wasn't deducting anything from my program. I was just adding, and I was just working harder and harder and harder. And I was like, and I'm like burnt out. Like I was
getting more and more frustrated as you go.
Yeah, I was so fit, but I was almost like so fit to where I was so burnt out, to where I was like so tired. Like I'd let it be like gnarly in the gym like the day before the race, like, you know, tired, you know, and that was my own doing. Like my trainer was like, dude, you gotta chill out. But I was like, I'm just trying to figure it out, you know, like
that's when you're just like trying so hard.
Yeah,
that
trying
it's like
so hard, and it's like
you're like shooting yourself in the foot because you want it so bad.
Yeah,
and it's like, you know, every race you go to, if you're trying a new warm-up routine and a new breathing exercise and a new bike setup and a new coach and a new mindset every single race, when there's like this underlying tone of like negative thoughts that are going to they're going to beat out any new thing that you add in every single time, because until you eliminate those negative thoughts or whatever that thing is that's holding you back, the new things aren't going to be enough to get the job done.
And that was like, I felt like in a way my mind would almost, before the race would even start, I'd like stress about like, oh, well, what happens if I don't do well tonight? Or like, what's next? Like what happens next? Instead of like stressing yourself out about what's ahead, like just being enjoyable and like thankful that you're there and you're able to race your dirt bike. Like that was one of the things like that, like she very much got across to me. It was like, I was always stressed about what was next, and like stressed about like, all right, what if I don't do well? Or like, what if this or what if that? But you can't like live what if, like, and like, that's one thing, you know, like been through a lot of things. And that's one thing I had to like eliminate, was like, instead of saying what if, like, all right, just be thankful you're here. No matter what happens, at the end of the day, you're still going to be here tomorrow. You're going to go on with your day. You'll figure it out, you know, whether you continue racing for your career or you figure out something else, like no matter what, you'll figure it out. So it's like, instead of stressing about what's next, just be in the moment, be grateful that you're there, be grateful for what you have, and enjoy that. And you'll actually surprise yourself, and you'll actually be able to kind of find more of a flow and enjoy things more, and, you know, not be so like, oh God, like tense, and be like, oh gosh, don't mess this up. Oh, I don't want to mess that up, you know, instead of like, who cares if I mess it up? Like, let's at least enjoy it. And at least I'd rather go out trying versus, you know, go out and just be stressed all the time and not, you know, get to my full potential.
Totally. That's where like racing not to lose is so much different than racing to win. And like when you're on the starting line and you're thinking about, oh, the firewood pit. What if the firewood pit takes out my front end when I'm leading? What if I get pinched outside on the start? What if I mess up the rock section? Like, you could go through like an endless scenarios of like what ifs, when you should be thinking about, how am I going to get the jump on this start right now? Because it's about to happen. And also building trust in yourself too, of knowing whatever happens out there, whether I tuck the front end in the firewood pit or go over the handlebars in the matrix, I'll figure it out. I trust myself enough to know that I got this, and no matter what happens, I'll make it happen, and I'll do the best that I can no matter what. And everything else, I can't do anything else.
Yeah.
What else can a motherfucker do?
Control what you can control.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, even at the last round of Endurocross, like in Everett, I literally like felt like I had a pretty good line on the rocks that nobody else was taking. I had like a really tight inside, and then I'd cross into the rocks, and nobody picked up on it, and I was the only one doing it, and it was working really well for like majority of the practice. And then like the last like 3 or 4 laps of practice, it got really slick, and I butchered it every single lap. And I was like, man, like I kind of had a secondary line, like, you know, Tristan and like they were staying way left, and they were killing it, and I kind of struggled the last few laps, and then I'm like going into hot laps, and I'm like, I just don't even know what line I'm taking right now. And, you know, and I was told by a couple of people like, oh, maybe you should go left. There's, you know, a line left middle, like all that. And I'm like literally about to leave for my hot lap, and I'm like, I need to figure out what line I'm taking, because otherwise I'm going to butcher both and not take anything. So like that was one thing mentally before, like I would have literally went into that lap not even knowing which line I was going to take, and be like, all right, if I jump this well, I'm going to take left. If I don't, I'm going to go middle. And it's like, that's so hard to make those decisions when you're that, like, because you're so focused on the rocks when it's 80% of the way through the track, like you're going to screw something else up.
Right.
To where I was like, all right, look, I was still 3rd, 4th fastest, whatever it was in practice. Like, just stick with your line. Like, it'll work. Like, focus on it. It'll work. You know that line's fast. You made it work earlier in practice. Make it work now.
Commit to it.
Yeah. And literally I went and stuck to my lines, and I hadn't even jumped off the balance beam until the hot lap. I was so nervous. I was literally
really?
That's the first time I jumped off the balance beam. But I knew everybody was doing it, and I was like, man, I literally am just jumping off the side on purpose. Like, I know to get a hot lap, and then sent it off and went my normal rock line, and that was my first hot lap win.
That's so sick.
And it was like, man, like if I would have thought to change my line, like probably wouldn't have been fastest.
Totally.
And, you know, it's like you have to believe in yourself, and like understand that like usually your first thought's going to be your best thought. And once you start wavering and thinking about a second option or a third option, like that's when you're going to screw yourself.
Usually your first thought is your best thought.
Yeah.
What you were talking about earlier with the mental coach and talking about things and breathing and doing and journaling about what your strengths and your weaknesses, it's like, it's hard to see the forest from the trees. Mm-hmm. It's like when you're in the forest, it's really hard to like grasp the entirety of what's going on. Right. So it takes like an active level of awareness and practice to like step back and go like, all right, who is Cooper and how is he doing? Yeah. This guy, and separate the personal part of it from what's actually happening. And then I feel like that's such a key part as well. And what you said there, like your first thought's usually your best thought. And it's so true. And that's where getting that instinct is so important too. Like Colton Haker is such an instinctual rider. He doesn't even visualize. I mean, he does, but like, dude, you never know with Colton, bro. He's always like, he's always telling you to do something. And then the next moment he's like, no, that's not right. Don't do that. And then he's like all over the place. But like one thing is for sure, like if I overanalyze my hot lap or overthink my hot lap, you can almost go backwards as well. Cause it's like, you still need that instinctual piece of riding, and it can be more detrimental. And what if when you come around for that rock section, the line that you're married to, what if there's a piece of firewood that got flicked out or a little rock like right in your line? Bro, that happens all the time. Yeah. Like you have to be able to like read that, go somewhere else, and then still have the fastest hot lap. So it's like man, this balance between like visualizing, picking, choosing, knowing exactly what I want to do, because there's no time to spare. You're fighting for thousands of seconds.
Yeah, we make decisions so quick, and that's the thing. Like people are like, after things are like, oh, why didn't you go there? Why didn't you jump this? Or it's like, dude, I'm literally making this in like a tenth of a second, like
right
option here. Like
right.
I literally, if there's a guy down a right, go left, like, and it's like, oh, you should have just stayed right. Or like, you're on a start and we're going down a start straight, and say when we're back row for the second moto, it's like you go into the rocks and you're behind like 7 guys and you're like, which guy do I pick? Like you just sometimes, like I usually try to pick the best rider normally, but it's like sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't.
Don't follow Spencer.
Yeah.
Rule 1.
And then it's like, sometimes it works, and then it's like sometimes you follow a guy like Cody Webb, like, oh, he's gonna kill the rocks. And then I remember one time he went down from me, and I was like, really?
Yeah.
Like you're the guy that goes down.
You blew
like,
it
out of
now.
Everybody. Like, yeah, and it's like you make those decisions so quick, and it's like you don't know what the future holds for that. So
totally.
It's like, yeah, and even going back to like the mental thing of like, I almost in a way when I was struggling with things, I was trying to figure out what was going on the racing side of things. And it was more so I need to figure out what was going on, like with what you said, like with myself, like what was I struggling with on myself and mentally, and like, I was relating everything to racing. And I think that was almost once I figured out how to like, that was my way of finding out how to separate the two, is like I found myself, and then which allowed me to be better on the racetrack, and it's like, when you're struggling on the racetrack, at races, you think it only comes down to the races, but it actually doesn't. It actually comes down to you mentally and physically, and, what you're telling yourself in your mind. And it's like, once you fix that, that'll automatically fix the race. You're thinking when you go to the race, well, it's something with the race. It's actually not, it's something within you mentally. Like, yes, it affects the race, but it's actually what's going on mentally within you.
It's easy to look at the decisions that you make during the race and the little mistakes that you make during the race and be like, why did I do that? Why am I going left when I should have gone right? Like, why am I following Spencer when I should have followed Cody, or whatever these little decisions are? And it's like, listen, I could kick myself for these decisions all day, but until I like dial in my mindset, then those decisions aren't those choices aren't going to change.
100%. Yeah. And that's like, what's so hard is like, you make decisions so quick, and it's like, after the race, you have days and hours and weeks sometimes, to like analyze it. And it's like, you can eat yourself up like over certain decisions. Like there is not a single race where you can't be like, man, I could easily had a podium there. I could have had a moto win there. Like there are certain races where everything goes right, and it's like, oh man, that was perfect. But you don't look back at that. You always look back at like, man, I made a mistake in this one. Like cost myself a podium on the overall in the night. Like there's so many, like, man, if I would have just went a foot left, like, and it's like you just mentally have to not like dwell on that. Like it's no matter what, I still like, I'll take a night or a day to like sit and look at the mistakes I made so that I can learn for the future. But you need to look at it in a way of like, all right, I'm looking at this to learn, not to like just beat myself up. Because I think a lot of people, and I even did that when I was younger, is like I would beat myself up all the way until the next race over something dumb, where it's like now I still look at those things, look at it for the night. I wake up the next morning, sometimes still a little grumpy at times, but if it goes bad, but I look at it as like, all right, what did I do here that I can learn from and not do at the next race?
And when you're beating yourself up, all you're doing is giving that thing energy. You're giving those mistakes that you made energy. You know what I'm saying? You're giving that, and it's almost like a self-fulfilling, it's like a spiral that the more you think about it and the more you kick yourself and the more you're mad at yourself and the more frustrated you get about it, the more you're going to make those same mistakes again next time.
It allows yourself to like think about it more during the race. That's how you start to think about this stuff during the race.
Yeah. And then you attach your identity to these mistakes of like, this is who I am a person that makes these mistakes. And it's like, no. Like after a bad race where you make mistakes, like Steve Hatch would say, pull a tear off and move on to the next race.
Yeah.
Like what else can you do?
100%. Like you can't take anything from that race and move it to the next race. Like you can learn from what you did in that race and apply it to the next race, but like you can't go back and redo that.
No,
like there's no
it's
going
done.
back. Yeah,
it's
like
over.
It's done. It's over with. Like you got 6th place, 4th place, whatever it may be. Like you got to live with that and learn from it and take it to the next race and try to, do a lot better. Fix that problem, because then mentally you're like, oh, awesome. Like I I learned from it. I fixed that problem. I didn't make that mistake the next race. Whereas if you dwell on it, like that mistake is going to turn into 2 mistakes and 3 mistakes and 4 mistakes, and it's just going to continue to add up.
And you're going to continue to get frustrated. And then when you're sitting on the starting line thinking about the mistake that you make during the race, you're not thinking about the start.
Yeah.
Like it feeds on itself. It really does.
Yeah. And 100% like mentally, like, we talked about mentally a lot in this, but it's crazy how much power it actually has. Because like so many times when I'm on the start line, if I'm like, man, I'm going to get a great start, I'm going to whole shot this thing, or like I'm going to get such a good jump. Majority of the time I get a great jump and I sometimes whole shot it, like if you think, oh man, like I got a 350, we're both on 2 strokes. So we're like, when we're next 350s, I'm like, man, like they're usually going to pull us down to start straight. And it's like, if you think, oh man, Colton's going to get a great jump, he's going to come over me. Most of the time it happens, but then like first moto this week, and I was like, I'm going to get a good jump. Like let's whole shot this thing. And I got literally the best jump I've gotten all year. And it's crazy, like how it kind of comes together when you think about it.
And you have to believe it too. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to get a good jump, but then like have that underlying like self-doubt. You have to be like, I'm going to get a jump and I'm going to whole shot this bitch.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's the thing. Like you can, and I know I did that as well. Like I've gone through so many trials and errors by like telling myself, people are like, oh, you need to be confident, like in your mind, like tell yourself you can do it. You can tell yourself as many times as you want. If you don't actually believe it or get yourself to believe it, it's not going to help. Like it's almost going to hinder you more by constantly telling yourself you're going to do it, you're going to do it. But if you don't actually believe it, it's actually going to probably hurt you more than, just being like, all right, don't think anything. Let's just go do it and go from there.
Dude, and believing it can be the hardest thing until you do it. Like if you've never pulled a whole shot before, it's really hard to believe that you're able to pull a whole shot. Like I just got my first moto win and like, bro, now I know I can do it and I believe I can do it, but bro, it's hard.
It's hard. And like you probably like, I didn't get to see the moto yet, but like that was probably one of your easiest motos.
Easiest.
Yeah. And like, that's crazy.
It's so much easier than getting fit.
Yeah. You're like, what? And then when I'm out of all the carnage, like everything like goes well, like you're hitting all your marks, and you're like, sweet, moto win. Thank you. Like, and it's like, now it's like getting that second one is so hard. And it's like, I feel like I've had chances at overall wins on a night. And like, I'm like, man, like this year, even like, I felt like I had the speed, everything to win it overall, but it's so much easier said than done. Like I do believe I can win an overall, but until you do it, like it's, you got to do it once. Like, and I believe, all right, once I do it once, I feel like, all right, now I can tick them off. But it's like, even once you get that first one, it's a lot easier said than done. Like, even when I got my first moto win, it was like, man, that was insane. Like, and it was the easiest moto. And I was like, why can't they all be like that? And it's like, but then it was over a year until I got my second one. And I was like, oh man, the second one's going to come, like all that. And it's, it took you a good chunk of years to get your first one.
17.
I actually thought you had one. I didn't even know until they said it, and that it was your first one. And I was like, oh, I thought you had a couple. So, but I guess they didn't switch to motos until,
Yeah, but I didn't even have a heat race win when we were doing heat races.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't even think I have a heat race win.
Yeah.
So I was like kind of nervous about that.
Yeah. I got at least end my career on a
I need at least one win, bro.
But it's funny, even like when I got the hot lap win this past week, and Tristan's like, you've never won a hot lap? And I was like, no. And like I was known as a hot lap guy, like coming up, like I had the speed.
Yeah.
But like everybody was like, Colton even was like, that was really your first hot lap win? I'm like, yeah, never won one. Like I've been super close. Like,
I actually was surprised when I saw your post as well. I was like, oh no shit.
Yeah. Like I've lost a couple by like a 1/10 of a second, but like still never won one. Like it's crazy. Like man, it took me a while to win a hot lap. Like, and that's all right. That's just another stepping stone to, all right, like now you win a moto. Now I try to win 2 motos in one night, and it's like, it's so much easier to look at and be like, oh yeah, I can achieve that, than to actually do it. Like it's so hard. And like what's hard is like you look at some of the guys like Jed, or even like Tristan never finished worse than second this year, and it's like everybody looks at that and they're like, well, those guys are winning and getting second. It's like, it's not that easy. Like you have those, those robots and those random guys that make it happen.
The
but
outliers.
It's
you almost have to be you have to be like so good to be able to be that consistent, that good and that consistent. Like it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like, you have to be so much better, like, because you have to be able to charge through the pack, because you can't rely. You're not going to get a perfect start every time. Shit, most of the every second moto you start in the back row.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you have to be able to charge through all the way through the pack from last to first. You have to be able to do that to win to win a championship.
Yeah, 100%. That's like what's so hard is like, I think that's what's so cool about Endurocross is second moto is like reverted. Like,
Yeah,
it does suck, but it also is like kind of fun in a way, because it's like everybody's the same here. Like,
yeah.
You all, like, majority of the time we're both on the back row for second moto, and it's like all the top guys are back here, like, you know, and it's like, I know Arena Cross did without it this year, and it's like, I think it makes it way less exciting. You know?
Totally.
Like, because now it's like you got to go through people. It comes down to so much more than just like raw speed. Like, you have to, like, you can't just be like slamming dudes and all that, like Supercross LCQs where they're just slamming everybody. Like, you can't just go and slam people. You have to pick your holes, all that. Because like, not only like in Endurocross are you like having to fight the guys, you're also like fighting the track. They're fighting the track.
Yeah.
Like, I was like the 5th round in Oregon, I was literally had a shot at a moto win behind Webb, and you know, I caught Webb, and after he had pulled away, and I was close to him, and you know, he got by a lapper through the water pit section, and lapper follows Webb. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go left. Like, they both went right, so I'm going to go left. Lapper clips a rock, shoots across track, clobbers me. I go down. I pick up the bike, get T-boned again, bike drops, and I went from 2nd to 11th.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, that was sweet. You know, and it's like, it's so crazy. You can look at that and be like, man, like, could have made a different decision there. But I'm like, man, I actually thought I made the right decision. Like, I didn't follow the lapper.
Right, like I wouldn't.
Like,
if I could go back in time, I probably would have done that same thing again.
I would never followed him once. Like, you know, and it's,
yeah, because if next time, if you let that decision affect the next time you're gonna follow the lapper, and he's gonna get hung up on the exit log,
yeah,
and you're gonna be stuck behind him again
by a bunch of people.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, that's what's so hard. It's like, no, it's, you make decisions so quick.
Dude, the lappers are like so stressful.
It is stressful, man. Like, honestly, it's not even like the back row start is like less stressful to me than the lappers are, because I feel like we kind of get through them decently quick at times, and like, I don't know, like, there's just so much carnage on the first 2 laps that like everybody's dealing with the carnage. Where like lappers, it's like pretty much like 1v1. Like, it just, hopefully this goes well. Like, and then sometimes they're like, damn it, like some of them do not move, and I'm like, dude, you're on like 15th right now. Like,
oh, I know. I'm
really,
lapping you.
You know, this is the main rock line right now, and you're really choosing this line, like. Because some races, like,
dude, Tim is the worst at that.
Yeah.
He will not get out of your way.
Yeah,
he'll he'll unlap himself if he has the chance to.
Yeah, they'll block you back.
Yeah.
There's certain guys where I'm like, come on, like, this is, and like, I had one moto this year, and like, I battled Colton and Tristan and Johnny pretty much the whole moto, the first moto, and then second moto, I had a horrible start, and like, I was actually with all them because they all had horrible starts too. And literally, the guys like look over and like pretty much wave them by. I come up, and they literally like, cut in front of me, and I'm like, "Are you serious? Like, I'm going just as fast as them. Like, what?" Dude,
that's where like establishing yourself as the winning guy is so. It's almost like the C's automatically part. Like, dude, that was the most stressful part of when I won my first moto in Everett. When I came upon lappers, I was like, "Oh fuck, these guys don't know that I'm leading. Yeah. Like, they're not." I've never done this before.
Yeah,
so
they see Tristan coming, they're like, all right,
yeah, get out of the way. Yeah. But when they see Max coming, they're like, no, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, dude, it was so stressful. Like, just get out of the way.
Yeah. Because sometimes we'll lap up to like 5th, 6th. Like, sometimes we lap that far up. And it's like, those guys are battling as well. And like,
exactly.
There's motos where we've each gotten 5th or 6th. And like, you know, there's times where we're battling for 9th. Like, and it's just the way Endurocross is. So that's what's hard, is like, you have to solidify yourself as like a championship contender for them to move out of the way. And like, it got a little bit better, I think, throughout the years. I got a couple more podiums, but like, there was some races where I'm like, come on. Like, even Tim, for example, like, there was one in the rocks. I literally had him. Guy just goes and pins it straight and slams me in the rocks, shoots both of us off the track. And I'm like, you just ruined both of us. Like, we were both coming through the pack. I had gotten around him, like, had a half a bike length on him, and he should have just funneled right into me because it was the fastest line. And instead just like jams into my foot peg, stands me up, shoots both of us off the track into this log. And then we both had to like foot plant back off, and we both lost like 4 spots. And I was like, come on. Like, you know, and it's hard. Like, you know, they make decisions so quick as well. Like,
right.
It's so hard that, you know, they're probably like, oh damn it, probably shouldn't have done that. But that's what's, I guess, makes it exciting, is like,
Some people
we've
learn.
all, yeah, we've all been like in situations where like facing backwards on the track, and you're like, well, this is not a good spot to be.
Like, oh, this is not ideal.
Yeah, even like this past weekend when I like rode the balance beam and the rear slid off and I ate crap on it in the second moto, and I was like worked my way all the way from like 14th to 5th, and I had like 4th and 3rd in front of me, and I was like, all right, man, like it's a good comeback. Rear slides off the balance beam, go over the bars, wad myself, and like got back up in like 8th. And I was like, damn it.
Again,
like,
you did it twice in one
No,
moto?
I only did it once. No, but I was like working my way up. No, like first lap, I got a rock or like a dirt clog stuck in my chain. And after like the parallel logs, you know, we dropped down and you had the big log after. I went to go, I came off the parallel logs and I went to go right over the log and the bike goes, boom. And I hit the thing and just go over the bars.
What?
Yeah, it was because, and then I went and I'm like trying to go and the bike like didn't want to go. And it's just like breaking through whatever was in the chain. I never even looked, but it was like either a rock or a big dirt clog.
Or a piece of wood or something.
Yeah, something. So then like got going. But yeah, I was in like a good spot and I was literally doing like a mile an hour, just hit the log and go over the bars. I was like, God, that was so embarrassing.
This is so rough, dude.
Yeah.
Stuff like that just happens. Mm-hmm. One thing I wanted to ask you is you were talking about like breathing techniques that you do. Do you care to share like what breathing techniques you use?
Yeah, so she called it I believe it was 4-7-8 is what it was called. So you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and then release for 8. So, and you do it like 10 times. And like before, she would always even have me do it on the start line because it actually expands your lungs as well. It's like it's actually came from like Navy SEALs. I believe it's 4-7-8. I should probably remember that. Otherwise, I've been doing it wrong recently. So it actually came from like Navy SEALs, and they used to do it before they like go underwater and like, you know, have to do underwater stuff. So yeah, she'd even have me do it 3 times on the start line. It's like a big thing there. But like if I say you're in a room and you can do it 10 times, do it 10 times. Like it seems so simple, but it's crazy. Like sometimes, you know, you like struggle to take like a deep breath. Like you know you have like anxiety or stress and you're like struggling to take a deep breath. Like,
Totally.
Yeah. And you do that like say 8-10 times.
Gone.
Yeah. Like you finish it. Yeah. Like feels like your like lungs are expanded, your chest is expanded, like your heart rate's lower. Like it's crazy that breathing makes a difference, but
it's everything.
Yeah. It made a big difference. And, you know, I obviously don't do it as much as I probably should, you know, like it's funny when you like learn something, you know, sometimes you get, all right, man, I got to figure it out. Like I'm good now, you know, but like it is stuff that you still have to continue to do and make it, you know, normal.
Right. Like it's a practice, and it's always a practice, right? Like life is a practice. You never really get to the golden finish line where you're just like, dude, I have it all figured out. I just take deep breaths all the time. I got the money. I'm fine. My morning routine is perfect. I feel great every single day. Like there's no such thing as that. No. That's not a thing. I feel like that's where a lot of people think of the idea of retirement, and they get kind of lost in that idea of like, once I retire, I'm going to start doing what I want to do. Yeah. I'm going to have my perfect morning routine. I'm just going to be in this perpetual state of bliss. Yeah. And it's like,
does not work like that.
It does not work like that, dude. Yeah. It's so much. There's so much more to it, and life is a practice. Like you learn how to communicate with your family, with the people around you. That's all of that is opportunities to practice your communication skills. Like what we're doing right now, I'm practicing this, you know what I mean? I'm practicing my curiosity, you know, and that's why I started this. I'm just curious. And, you know, breathing techniques, you have to remember. That's like, dude, one of my biggest things is like awareness, right? Like awareness. Like if you can just gain a state of awareness all the time, where like when you're on the starting line, like, oh, I'm a little nervous. Oh, yeah, I have these breathing exercises. Or dude, I know that feeling that you're talking about, like when you have like some anxiety, like even day-to-day stuff or whatever, I'm trying to get something done on the computer. I just can't get the email typed up, whatever. But like having a sense of awareness to be like, okay, instead of just like feeling this anxiety and like avoiding what I'm trying to do and going on my phone for a minute, why don't I just go outside and instead of fighting this, instead of that, just go outside and take 4 or 5 deep breaths and just go for a little walk and just like relax the spirit a little bit. And then you come back and it's like, oh, I'm actually better.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like if you ignore it just gets worse.
Totally.
Like, that's the problem is like, I feel like that's sometimes our like society is like, all right, whatever it is, just keep dealing with it. Like, you know, like it's kind of old school as well. Like, which I like the old school kind of living more, but it's like whatever you're dealing with, just keep on grinding through, you know? And it's like now it's like kind of changed where like, all right, maybe you need to acknowledge what's going on and then you can approach it the right way. And then, all right, man, I'm good now. Like even just something as simple as like breathing, go outside, get some vitamin D and back inside.
So true.
Yeah. It makes such a difference.
Well, dude, and like an old school way of thinking, like it depends on how far you go back, but like, like our parents my parents are old school. Your dad's in that old school generation where it's like, doesn't matter, keep pushing.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, keep trying. Like, and there's definitely something to be said for that. Like push through, grind harder. Like there's definitely something to be said for that. Oh, you know, like no emotions, like, you know, push that shit down. It doesn't matter. Like keep moving forward, just do it. But then there's also like an old school mentality of like, well, if you want to go back even further, like a Native American type of old school, something like that, think of the level of awareness that they were practicing at all times, like super aware of their surroundings, like the nature, like super aware, and breath work probably all the time. Like it's probably like a major part of their culture. And then going back to seeing the forest from the trees, you know, when you're in the forest and you're just grinding, like there's only so much grinding that's going to get you there. But like to really gain a perspective and really find the growth, you're going to have to take a step back and take some deep breaths and sort through it all and be like, all right, well, who am I? Like, why am I, what is causing me to make these race decisions? Why am I reacting to certain things in a way that's not serving me or the people around me? Why? And being curious about these things, being aware and then curious about them, I feel like can get you so far in this life.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you're spot on that. And like, yeah, my grandpa's so as old school as it gets.
Oh, dude,
pretty much as old school as it gets. And it's like, you know, like all those people like you talked about earlier, like retiring, like, oh, I'm a retiring. My grandpa's retired, like he retired, and he's like, this sucks. Like literally, he's like, he's still over doing projects with my parents, or like, you know, he was always like a contractor. So he's like, still, I'll see him over at people's houses, like building stuff. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you can't even barely get up on a ladder now. But like, that's the thing. He was just so old school, like just grind. And like now, like, dude, his body is like, I don't even know how he gets around as is, you know?
He's beat, yeah.
Yeah. Dude, his body is hammered. Like, and that's what's so crazy is like, if you actually take the little bit of extra time, like it'll benefit you so much more. Cause like, his mind still wants to go ride a dirt bike. His mind still wants to go do a lot of stuff, but because he just kept grinding, like that was just the old school way of doing it. Like his body doesn't allow him to, where it's like, all right, if you maybe even just took, say, 1-2 days a year even, you know, to like allow yourself to recover, allow yourself to like, you know, do that. He may be able to say still ride a dirt bike, and like he still, you know, tries to ride a motorcycle and stuff now, but like his body would maybe not hurt so bad every morning.
Dude, Boyd could still beat up everybody, like on an average airplane that you get on. Like I see Boyd coming down the aisle sometimes at these Endurocross races. I'm like, fuck.
Don't look.
Hey, Boyd. I'm not trying to avoid you, but hey. Yeah. He's so gnarly,
he's
dude.
Gnarly. Yeah, he's by far the gnarliest dude I know. Like the guy is so gnarly. Like just will grind through anything. Like literally, like my parents live on like a cul-de-sac, and there's like 6 houses, and at the end is like my aunt, my uncle, my grandma, and grandpa, and then at the beginning is my parents. And it's got to be a quarter mile, maybe a little bit more, their like driveway area. He put sand down middle of summer in Arizona. It's like 100. The low is probably 100 degrees.
He loves it.
Yeah. He literally, I think it was a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, he pavered the entire driveway. Like not just to my parents' house, but like from the main road all the way to the end of the cul-de-sac. And it's like 20 feet wide as well. Like by, I would say like 200 yards.
What a maniac.
Yeah. Like just middle of summer, he'd like show up, and I'm like, and he like brought his old rigged out trailer, you know, where it started blowing holes through it. So he just put some more plywood over it and just dumped some sand, went and picked up the sand and the pavers himself. Like just chucks all the pavers out. And I'm like, the dude's 82 or something. Like, I'm like, gnarly. And he'd work sun up, sundown, like just absolutely drenched in sweat.
What the hell?
With his chair, just leaning.
It goes to show that like money and retirement is one thing, but really like having a sense of purpose is really the juicy bit.
That's funny. Even like along with that line is like when I like drive and stop by like my parents or go by my grandma and grandpa's, it'll be like middle of summer. The guy's sitting out on their front porch. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? It's 115 out. He's like, oh, just enjoying the sun. I'm like, it is literally 115 out right now. Like,
crikey.
Dude, no joke. Like every day he does that for hours. Like
what?
Just
why?
I think he enjoys the pain. Honestly, he just
likes to suffer a little bit.
I honestly think he just enjoys to suffer, and like, you know, I'm like, damn, I need a little bit more of that.
There's definitely a level of that I understand. And dude, you have to remember, like that generation, it wasn't about like. And that's why they think that we're so foo-foo, because it's like we're out here like doing what we're passionate about, what we love. We're like chasing our dreams and like doing all this stuff, but we're doing this upon this platform that they built. Like your grandpa, your dad, my grandpa, my dad, like my family lineage. Like I wouldn't be able to do what I do if they didn't grind, probably. 100%. And like it was a survival mentality for them back then. It wasn't about like, oh, what do I want to be when I grow up? It was like, no, make enough money to survive, keep the lights on, put food on the table. And then if after you do that for 50 years, then if you get stable enough, then maybe you can start choosing to do some things that you like to do.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like my grandpa was like, well, he was old enough. He went into the army and did that, and then came home and became a contractor, like, because it was a job he knew how to do and made enough money. But it's like nowadays there's so many different avenues you can go for jobs, like
totally.
And like obviously life's more expensive now, but like there's some jobs that like pay good money, and like even you go work at McDonald's now, it's probably like $20 an hour almost now.
Yeah, probably.
It's like, I mean, obviously life's a lot more expensive, but it's like, Jesus, like there's so many options now, and people are like, oh, I can't get a job. I'm like, dude, you everywhere you go it says hiring.
Yeah,
like everywhere, because there's so many other social media jobs, or so many other people creating businesses of their own. Like everybody wants to create their own business or be their own boss, and it's like, which is great, you know, but there's also other bosses that need workers.
Well, and that's not the best option for everybody.
Yeah,
like dude, being your own boss and being your own entrepreneur and starting your own business is like the hard way to do it.
Yeah, it's
not the easy way to do it. And people have this idea of like, oh, I'll start my own business and then I'll automatically have my own free time and blah blah blah. It's like it doesn't really work like that. People will be like, oh, must be nice. That's my favorite one. Like, oh, it must be nice. You do something that you love. And I'm like, absolutely. Honestly, it is nice. Yeah. I love it. I get to do what I love. I'm passionate about it. But I work harder. I work so hard. All I do is work. And when I'm chilling at night, when I'm done eating dinner, I'll probably go on the computer and send a couple more emails and type up a newsletter and like just get caught up on things, freshen up the website. Like I'm in like a perpetual state of trying to like improve my program, because like that's what it is when you're an entrepreneur. You're not, or when you start your own business, you're not just sailing off into the sunset because you got your own business. You work harder than anybody else. If you choose to do something that you're passionate about and choose to do something that you love, you better also expect to work harder than anybody else.
100%. Yeah, people are like, oh, I'm gonna be able to work less. Like, no, like that's the thing. Even racing dirt bike, like people are like, oh, that's so nice. I'm like, yeah, it's definitely like I'm grateful as can be for what I have, but like it's a lot more work than people see. Like people, you know, they work Monday through Friday, they got the weekend off, they come home from work, they're done. Like, you know, obviously, yes, in ways we get to set our schedule, but like also every day is the same. And like that's not even in a good way. That's just like every day is the exact same. You ride, you work out, you train, you work on media stuff now. Like there's so much more to it. And even like my best friend Cody, who owns CM Parts, like I see a very, very close look to his business because we also live together. So it's like I see everything that goes on pretty much in his business, and like see how much he works, see like, you know, what goes on in a day to day for him. And it's like, you know, in the past he's had certain employees where they're like, man, like certain days he doesn't come in, but he's still working at home, you know, like it's a thing. They're like, oh, I'm working hard. Why? They see the amount of money that's coming in. They're like, well, why don't I get paid that? Or like, it's like, just because that amount of money is coming in doesn't mean that's the amount he's making.
Right.
He's actually not making much at all. Like, is a thing. Like all that money that's coming in is now just getting reinvested into the company to hopefully make more and make more. But
exactly.
Like, the more money he makes, the more money the company makes. I mean, the more money that just gets put back into the company. It's not like he's over here just paying himself good money. Like, you know, and it's like people do not realize how much you have to work to own your own business. Like, you know, he works gnarly hours, and people like didn't see that. And like, especially when it was growing, like he's built it into something really good now, but especially when he was like starting it out, like the dude would live at the shop pretty much. Like he would literally get home, work until like 2 a.m., wake up at 4 a.m., back to work. Like, it was gnarly. I'm like, I don't even know how you're operating right now, you know? And now he's able to, you know, sleep 6 hours now instead of 2. But the thing is, like, it's still gnarly. Like, people do not realize how much you have to work when you own a business versus when you work for somebody. Like, yeah, maybe you're only set at an hourly rate, but at least when you come home, you're done.
Yeah.
The weekends you got off, you can do whatever. Like, it's different.
Yeah. And now a quick word from our sponsors that keep the podcast going. Bulletproof Designs is a company that focuses on making the highest quality billet aluminum protective parts for off-road dirt bikes, made right here in the USA. I've been running Bulletproof Designs since 2012, and I've had great luck with all of their products. Their products come with a lifetime warranty, so if you break something, you know they got your back. Bulletproof Designs protective equipment is a must-have if you like to ride gnarly terrain. If you like to mess around and find out, you better put Bulletproof Designs on your bike. Head on over to bulletproofdesigns.com to order parts to keep you riding weekend after weekend. Do you need a one-stop shop for everything you need to keep you on the trails? Slavens Racing is an online retailer that specializes in selling high-performance off-road products. Slavens is owned and operated by dirt bike enthusiasts, by riders, for the riders. The customer support team over at Slavens has a huge foundation of knowledge to help you dial in your bike and equipment. That means you get the best customer support when you call them with questions. Head on over to slavensracing.com to buy from the experts of off-road.
It's different.
Yeah, totally, dude. And yeah, like, think about how great it must be to have like a normal job sometimes. Like, you clock in, you do your work, and then you clock out, and then it's done. You don't have to think about it anymore. It's just, you can go hang out with your family, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
and you get good money.
Yeah, mentally you're like, cool, I'm done. You got nothing going on in your mind. Like, you ain't like, oh man, I got this, and that. Like Cody's like, dude, his mind is running 24/7 by ideas and like stuff he needs to get and buy and people he needs to pay and like all that. Like, you get paid, like somebody pays you, you don't have to do anything. It goes directly into your account.
Yeah.
Like, you work 9 to 5, go back
and you
home.
have benefits.
Yeah, benefits. All right.
Shout out to Cody Miller, CM Parts.
Yeah, no, he's a good one.
Used parts. Does he have a website or is it just all eBay right now?
He has a website currently, but it's not, I don't think it's up and going yet, but it's in the works. But yeah, mostly eBay. He does some stuff through MX Locker as well. But
yeah. Cody's been killing it, dude. He's actually like an inspiration. You know what I mean? Like, for me, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Most people like see me post about CM Parts, and like everybody always tries to figure out what the correlation is. Like, people have thought like I'm the owner at times. I'm like, no, like,
he's just my homie.
Yeah. No, like, Cody's literally my best friend. He was literally my best man in my wedding, and we've lived together for the last 8 years. This is how close Cody and I are. So literally, he's my brother. I don't really think of him as anything else. So it's like, it's cool because 8 years ago is also kind of when he started CM Parts. So like, I've literally seen it since the beginning, you know, and people see what it is now, and which is so cool to see what it is now, but it's almost cooler in a sense to see where it started, which was in his bedroom, just like stacked.
Selling your guys' old Cowie parts and shit, right?
Yeah, selling old parts and stuff like that. And, you know, he sold some stuff when he lived in Tucson. Like, he kind of had already started something himself. But then, yeah, he kind of, you know, came in with us and helped some things. And it's crazy. You know, now he deals with a lot of race teams. He's gotten to sell, like, a lot of cool people's parts, you know. And I think even for him, he's like, oh, it's cool. Like, some of the people he gets to talk to and deal with now. But also, he's worked his butt off to get it to where it is, and that's what people don't see. You know, even like us being professional racers, like, people just see like, oh, your results, oh, you get free bikes, oh, you get like sponsor stuff, like, that's sick. Like, no, dude, it didn't start out like that. Like, there's so much that goes into it, whether you're a professional athlete or you own your own business. Like, you're only seeing the good stuff. Like, you do not see any of the behind the scenes and all that,
all the failures.
Yeah.
Speaking of being successful, what are you going to do with your bonus check from Endurocross season this year?
What check?
Did you get a bonus for third overall?
From Endurocross?
No, like from your sponsors and Sherco and all that?
Yeah.
So what you got on the radar, dude? You going to go buy something fancy? You going to invest
I
it?
didn't make that much money. No. Eventually, I need to find a bicycle sponsor. That's what I need. So I don't have to go buy a bike. Yeah. But, no, I don't know. I still trying to go to Super Enduro is the thing right now.
Okay.
So, don't really have a lot of, it's still really up in the air right now. We're literally only a few weeks away from the first round, and I still don't know if I'm going or not going.
Really?
But right now, some sponsors are trying to help more, and I'm kind of got everything lined up myself to go just do it on my own dime.
Really?
So if anything, all that money is going to be gone real quick to go to Super Enduro to go by myself, because, it's something I'd really like to do.
You got good momentum coming off the Endurocross
good momentum
season?
with Endurocross. I enjoy racing. I still want to go race. It's a cool opportunity to go race in Europe. Sherco USA is trying to support if they can, but let it have zero support to go race it. And so maybe that's where that money will go. So I don't know. It's still in the works right now. So by the time this comes out, maybe I'll be at Super Enduro, or maybe I won't. So
Dude, when's the first round?
3.5 weeks. So 3 weeks from this weekend. So December 14th or something around that time.
How do you even organize something like that? Like, that seems like such a massive effort.
I literally I've been in contact with the head Super Enduro guys, and they've offered to help out a little bit, which is awesome. And they would transport my bike to every race. So would be a huge help. But then, I hit up random people. Like right now, I hit up the Agus Pascal kid, and he's got a new Sherco, and I literally am renting it. Like I don't even have bike support to go there right now. So I literally gonna go rent a bike probably. And then
that's stressful.
Yeah. So I probably would just bring my suspension and a couple parts, throw it on, and then Super Enduro transport it to every round. And then, just do my own thing. Like it's pretty stressful right now, to be honest, to try to line it all up. Dude, with no support.
I bet.
It's, you got to weigh the odds if it's worth it or not, especially because it's not cheap to go over to Europe and race a dirt bike, but it's also an experience, never really going to get
exactly
again. So, who knows?
If you're going to do it, you have to do it now.
Yeah, 100%. That's the thing. Like, I feel like with the way I'm riding and where I'm at, it's like you can always be like, oh, there's always next year, but you really don't know. Like, if I can go this year, Sherco USA is trying to help out if they can, but
it's tough for a USA company, because Sherco USA is not really going to get anything out of it. Like they'll promote it a little bit, but what most people don't understand is like when I get hired by Beta USA or you get hired by Sherco USA, we're hired by a USA based company to represent this brand here in the US as an American. Yeah. Like that's what we're doing. We're flying the American flag and we're representing that brand here in America. They're not hiring us to go race in other countries. That doesn't really do them any good here. So
it's hard.
When it comes to wanting to do stuff in Europe and stuff like that, it's like you can reach out to your connections that you have here in the States, but they don't really care. They'll help connect you with people over there, but getting hired as a foreigner in another country is tough to do.
Yeah, like I was just trying to get a bike from Sherco Europe, and it's like I can't even get a hold of people to get a bike, and it's crazy. Like all I was trying to do is get a bike to use for the season, and then here's the bike back. Like, and it's crazy how difficult it is. Like even people are like, oh, you're a factory rider, like you should be able to get over there, racing. And it's like it ain't that easy. Like it's completely separate entities from the USA side to the Europe side, and that's what people don't realize is most of the time the USA side and Europe side is completely separate on most brands. And that's what's hard. It's like I'm trying to go there. It, can benefit the USA side if, sponsor wise, if we have some European sponsors, but outside of that, it's like, it's got to come down to Sherco Europe supplying a bike, and you'd think they'd have a bike, but it's a struggle.
Top 3 guy in the U.S. You'd think they'd be like, dude, come over. We'll find a bike. We got a bike from last year that you can have.
That's the thing. I'm like, man, I will literally ride a used bike. I don't care. Like, am trying to do this on the lowest possible budget. I'm like, I'm not asking for any money, anything. Like I literally was like, it's
just something that you want to do.
Yeah, it's something I really want to do. Like, yeah, I don't want to go drop 20 grand by myself to go do this. Like that's, to me, is maybe not worth it, you know? Like obviously the experience is really cool, but that's a lot of money to go drop, to go by myself.
Where I come from, 20K is a lot of cheese, bro.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, I ain't gonna go drop that, you know? But like if I could get a little bit of help to make it happen, you know, like it's $3,000 to rent a bike for the season. Like that in itself.
Dude, it's tough because it's like, you know, one mentality would be like, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Yeah.
But then like, also, if I didn't spend the money that I spent and took the risk that I did and leverage myself the way that I have, I wouldn't have what I have now.
Yeah.
So it's like, you have to value the experience above all else almost sometimes. Yeah. It's like, listen, if there's something that I want to do, then I have to just figure out how to do it and just do it.
And that's what's hard too, is like some sponsors are European that we have, you know, like some do originate from Europe and like the headquarters is in Europe, you know, they have USA support and all that. But like there's some, like my Garnet deal, I deal directly through Italy. Like it's not USA support or any of that. Like it's directly through Italy. And, you know, they obviously want me there. And it's like a couple other sponsors that are in Europe want me there. And it's you know, it's a weird fight. Even like the Euros getting over here, like I don't know how they all get over here. Like
they're making it happen.
I don't know if the US is just more open to them being over here or what, but like, but what's funny is like the Super Enduro people are like begging me to get over there. They're like all for it. They're like, look, we can help out what we can. Like, I mean, it's not like they have unlimited money to just throw to fund me going over there, but it's like, they're like, I don't understand why, you know, certain people don't want to invest in you being over here. Like it's just going to benefit them. Like even the Sherco Europe thing, like it would just benefit honestly Sherco Europe and Sherco in general, you know, like to have a shot at having a guy on a podium versus not having a guy there at all. Like,
do they not have a rider there?
I don't know. I heard a rumor that Theodore is doing Super Enduro, but I don't know if that's true.
Well, and that's not. and Tio's great. Don't get me wrong, but dude, you'd think that a guy coming off of Endurocross podium year would be a really valuable asset to have. Like, dude, let's put our brand on the podium and prove it.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I'm like, all right, that works out even better if Theodore's going, because I was like, throw one bike in there for me. Like,
yeah,
if you're already going,
throw an extra bike in there.
Throw an extra bike. I'm not asking for anything else. What is it? Give me a bike. I'm going to put, 10 hours by the end of the season on it? Like, I ain't going to beat it up that much. Like, I don't know. It's interesting, you know, to see, like, the way certain people operate. And it's frustrating in ways. But then it's like, well, I mean, you're not the one sitting there behind, you know, all the data and the spreadsheet of what makes sense to them and all the big wigs and where the money's going and all that. But it's like, man, with some of the money that goes certain places, it's like, man, that's pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, like the U.S. like sending money to like the Russia and the Ukraine. It's like, why are we doing that? It doesn't make any sense. But still, like, and like we were talking about before, it's hard. It's hard to know what their perspective is, what position they're in. Mm-hmm. Maybe they don't have any money. Maybe they're fucked.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, you see what KTM's doing right now. From what I heard, I mean,
KTM's not in a good position. What I heard.
What I heard is like KTM's not in a good position. You know, Sherco, I mean, did some things to make sure they weren't in that position. You know, like we were limited on bikes this year. I rode the exact same bike all year from a race bike, hard enduro, endurocross, everything. We had like new frames and stuff like that to like
freshen it up.
But like we literally ran, I think Webb and I had 5 bikes total for the year between the two of us.
Dang.
4 or 5 bikes total between the two of us.
Shoestringing it.
So we were like, you know, limiting it.
Dude, the whole industry is struggling right now.
Yeah.
You know, we're kind of like, from what I understand, is like we're on the backside of the wave from the COVID thing. COVID came, everybody's getting money, ordering bikes, paying whatever it cost. It didn't even matter. Mm-hmm. The production facilities were like shut down, so they're backed up. So then they way over ordered. Now they got like an abundance of inventory basically. Mm-hmm. And then now they can't sell them or something. And like, yeah, the whole industry is struggling. And then like, dude, like Climb, one of my main sponsors, there's no snow this year. So like, they didn't really have any snow. So like, they have all these dealers with $100,000 in inventory.
Like, winter stuff.
Yeah, of winter stuff. And then these people are like, well, we didn't sell any of it because it didn't snow. So like, now what are we going to do?
Yeah.
So it's just like everything's just kind of like backed up for the time being.
Yeah.
And
I know like on the KTM side of things, like that's where they're in trouble. Like because of like COVID, like it was booming. Like,
booming.
It killed it. Like it almost actually hurt, because where it was before COVID and where it is now, it's probably better now than it was before COVID. But because of COVID, like everything boomed. So now it seems like it's just tanking, you know? But like I heard KTM just ordered boatloads of bikes because they're in such high demand whenever, like during COVID. And now they're just stuck on a bunch of bikes. Like I know at one point there's a dealership that I know that had over 1,000 bikes in their dealership. Like literally they had to get storage units. Like KTM was paying these dealers storage units fees so that they could store the bikes so that they could figure out what to do. So that's their big problem, was like they had bikes on bikes, where we like at Sherco, like we didn't have any bikes like that. So almost it was actually a good thing in a way of like, all right, now we have a bunch of 25s coming, you know, like we have more 25s coming in this first shipment than we've had the last 2 years, like, you know. And it's like, in a way, I guess that worked out. I don't know if that was thought out, you know, but I mean, it worked.
So gnarly. Speaking of bikes, what's your perspective on riding the two-stroke this year at Endurocross? How are you liking the two-stroke? What are some of the pluses and minuses? Like, what's your take on it?
Yeah, like obviously you switched over to two-stroke as well, switching to beta, and I think it's good and bad. Like the two-stroke, I think there's definitely some good things with it, and then there's some things where like starts, like we get, I feel like, pretty worked on starts compared to the 350s. You know, obviously they're on factory bikes, all the guys in 350s, so the factory bike's going to pull a little bit harder than say a stock 350 is going to pull. But like the two-stroke's so good in like the rocks, all like with Endurocross, I feel like it's really good because it's a lot of tight corners, and that's where like the two-stroke is just so flickable. And that was when Johnny was on beta, was like he was so good. Like he would just turn so much earlier than everybody and get into the obstacles so much quicker than everybody. And like that was one thing I noticed when I switched to the two-stroke, was like you can just turn so much tighter, and like when you get into the obstacle, it's so much easier just to like create momentum. Where I feel like the four-stroke, if you go into an obstacle with no momentum, like it's a lot harder to create momentum. And like I don't know what that is, if it's like just the freewheeling of the two-stroke or what it is, but like I just feel like the tight corners, the rocks, like all that, like I don't love jumping a two-stroke on an Endurocross track. Like it's not my favorite thing to do. Like I just feel like one moment I'm boner airing, the next moment I'm like about to go OTB. Like it's weird, you know. And this year is my first full year on Endurocross on it, and now it's like a lot more comfortable. But like I grew up all four-stroke my whole life because I didn't ride much when I was younger.
Damn millennials, Boyd would say.
Literally. So literally I spent no time on two-strokes until, you know, I rode a KTM. But even my first year on a KTM two-stroke was at TPI. So I never even rode a carbureted two-stroke before Sherco. Yeah, never even rode a carb two-stroke.
Didn't you ride a KX100 when you were like a little kid though?
Yeah, that's true.
But that does that even count, really?
That's the thing. I had like a KX85, but I'm like,
that was pre-14-year-old.
That was literally, I probably rode that thing like 5 times.
That was before you cared about racing.
That was before I even probably knew it had a carburetor. So it's different. Like I like the carburetor feel, like it runs well. Like the biggest thing with the carb is just like if you have it tuned right, like it's awesome. But like if you're a little bit off, then it's like, all right, like, you know, you gotta fine tune it. That's only, I feel like, struggle on the two-stroke side of things was just like tuning, you know, like if you're a little off, you're like, oh man, like it's a little flat on the top or it's a little blubbery on the bottom, you know, like that's kind of you're fighting that back and forth sometimes. And I don't know enough about that. Like I've tried to learn more throughout the year, but like somebody that probably has it down to a science, you know, oh, you'd be spot on every round. But like I haven't learned it enough, and you know, some of our guys don't know it enough to have it absolutely perfect at every round. But it's like throughout the season, we got it so much better. Like by the last round, the bike was night and day better than it was, say, at the first round. So I think the four-stroke 350 is obviously nice. I think if you can be on a 350, like the power's really good, and delivery's really nice of it. Super smooth, but also a super good bottom, and it's powerful enough, but not like too heavy to where it's gonna yank your arms out, you know. But I also think it's like a preference, you know. Some guys do better on four-strokes, some guys do better on two-strokes. Like I mean, there's still things in the works that we're going to try to test the 4-stroke back and forth, with the 2-stroke this next year, and hopefully develop our 4-stroke a little bit more. And then, maybe I'm back on a 4-stroke. I don't know. So it's, the 2-stroke has made such good progress. And I feel like for a while it kind of went away in Endurocross, and the last couple of years since like Johnny won it, it's kind of made a comeback. Like,
totally.
It's funny. Like at one point, I think there was like no 2-strokes, and then at one point it was like half 2-strokes, and now it's like, there's 4 of us or whatever in the main that are on 2-strokes. So it's kind of goes back and forth. I think if somebody does well on one, then everybody's like, well, the 2-stroke must work. Like,
yeah.
So it's kind of a hard balance,
I feel like it's so dependent on the track too. Like if the track is faster and jumpier, a 4-stroke's going to be better, but then if it's tighter and more technical, a 2-stroke's going to shine. Yeah,
like the Oregon track, like that track was way bigger layout, way faster. Like I noticed the 2-stroke struggled a lot more at that track. And also like we just run a softer suspension setting, which struggled at that track. So that was definitely a struggle there. I'm like, man, a 4-stroke would be nice right now, But like some of the other rounds, like I think even Everett, I think it was a great 2-stroke track.
For sure.
I feel like that was more of a 2-stroke track
Plus
than it was a 4-stroke.
Engine braking, I felt like that made a big difference because, dude, when you let off the gas there, that dirt was like a sponge. Like it would suck you in.
Yeah.
So like just having a bike that just freewheeled and just rolled, I feel like it was so much nicer not having that thing. I don't know.
Braking mounts.
But I mean, you can always just pull in the clutch to let it roll. But still, like,
there's still going to be more than the 2-stroke.
Just that weight of the 4-stroke's going to just like suck in that much more. And to me, the 300 2-stroke feels like a trials bike on steroids. It's just super lightweight. Dude, honestly, I loved the 300 this year.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
It's lightweight. I didn't get as tired on it. I felt like I could push harder, deeper into the motos.
Yeah.
But I'm also part-time now.
Yeah. Part-time media guy.
Yeah,
media guy.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like the 2-stroke, like, at first I was like, I don't know, like maybe, maybe you can make it work. Certain guys like Webb or Johnny, like they make it work. But I feel like you kind of maybe had to have like the trials background to make it work. But I obviously don't have a trials background. I have, minimal trial skills, let's say. So, I mean, I started to make it work. So I think it's just spending time on it and being comfortable on it is the biggest thing.
One other thing I wanted to talk to you about is just like an overall training program. Like if you preparing for Endurocross, like because people ask me all the time, like, do you ride mountain bikes? Do you cross train? What do you do for training? And I'm like, it depends on what time of the year it is, what I'm getting ready for. And I'm like, well, I'm usually just getting ready for an event. And if you're like an average guy trying to get better on your dirt bike and trying to get more fit, I'd say use the time that you have to go ride.
Yeah. Go ride.
But for somebody like me and you it's like, okay, I can actually build a program however I want to like get ready. So like, if Endurocross starts in October, when do you like to start getting ready? And then like, how does it start and how does it change until the first round?
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, it can change so much, like depending on where you're at in the season, how your body is, all that kind of stuff, bike development, there's obviously early months. I would say I usually ride Endurocross a couple times, usually in like July is usually when I start riding Endurocross. Not like in season training by any means, just like, hey, let's go. Just kind of warm our way back into it. Kind of go mess around sections, ride some laps, do some literally like some short 2-lappers, 3-lappers, or just do like 10-minute motos at like 60%, or you're just kind of getting used to the feeling of it all and all that. And then usually there's a race in Utah that I usually do. It's called Juab. I believe it's usually in July. I'm pretty sure it is. And that's honestly kind of, usually I've only ridden Endurocross like 2 or 3 times before that event. And then you kind of use that as like a testing event. You kind of see, all right, where we're at, where the bike's at. Because obviously practicing, you can make a lot of progress with the bike. But even if it's not a legit Endurocross series race, you can still figure out, all right, where's the bike at? Like you're going to be able to figure out more in a race scenario than you are, say, practicing at home, because you just push that extra little bit and usually get some pretty good competition. Like you've been there quite a few times and it's, pays well and has a good event.
Thompson
awesome
will
people.
Be there for sure, dude.
Thompson sending it. But yeah, it's honestly just an awesome event. So usually do that and then kind of go back home and then, all right, like let's start our boot camp. And Usually 3 days a week. Ride Endurocross is usually what it is. Try to ride some trials a couple times a week. And then obviously usually my gym's like 4 days a week as well.
Big gym guy.
Yeah. I do
4 days a week in the gym?
Usually 5 days, honestly.
Oh.
Yeah. 1 day is pedaling. So like I guess 4 days in the gym, 1 day pedal.
Dude, wow.
It's a lot sometimes. But like,
what's the mentality there? What's the theory?
Be fitter than everybody else.
So you're not are you lifting and doing cardio in the gym? Or are you doing both?
Yeah. More like slower pace stuff, to be honest. Like it's more shorter workouts. Like I'm not in the gym for 2 hours. Like my
like
longest,
an hour?
Yeah, like my longest workout would be an hour. So it's like shorter. Like my shortest one will sometimes be 30 minutes. Like does
that include your warm up?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like an hour total.
Yeah.
You warm up, like do 10, 15-minute warm up, and then you have like a 45-minute or so routine.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's not like blowing myself out.
You're not killing yourself every time.
I'm not killing myself for 2 hours.
Because you want to slowly build. If you blow yourself out once, it's going to take you 3-4 days to recover from that. So the idea is to just slowly build.
Yeah, but like even like this year, every Monday I was doing 3-hour pedals.
Bro, that's gnarly.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was like
mentally, that's gnarly.
Yeah, so like every single Monday I was doing 3-hour pedals, and then Tuesday was ride, gym. Wednesday usually was only gym. Thursday ride, gym. Friday gym. Usually Saturday ride, and then Sunday was usually off.
Did you feel like you had unlimited energy at these races this year?
Yeah. So like, but that's the thing is, so I did that like, and I had done gnarlier than that before, but like. Never stopped all the way through the season. Like kept with that same program all the way through the season, and I was burnt out. Like I was done. You're
beat, bro.
Yeah. Where this year, like my trainer and I worked really well together. Of like, I had like a gnarly like 6 weeks where I was like pretty gnarly. Like
to the camp.
Yeah, like kind of a camp. More gym than ride. Like a little bit less riding. Like shorter days riding, work sections, no crazy like amounts of riding. And then, when like mid-August came around, then we're like, all right, like more riding, a lot less gym, like work and all that. And like, then my pedals were 2 hours. So they were still pretty long. But like on Mondays, I would do 2-hour pedals. But then like my other gym days, like, then I started getting like Wednesday off. So I would do like pedal, ride, gym Tuesday, Wednesday off, ride Thursday, gym Friday, and then ride Saturday. So then I started getting that to where like, so it's like, I had 2 days off in the week of like no gym, not really any riding on those days. So it's like
hanging
it's kind of was like a 3 days on, 1 day off kind of a thing where it's really got to the point where it wasn't too bad.
And your body adapts, like your body gets used to it.
Yeah, like the first 2 weeks, dude, I was so sore. Like I could barely get up and walk some days. And like bicycling, like the area didn't feel too nice down there. Like after pedaling that much, I don't know how cyclists do it, but like
callous tape,
dude, it's gotta be so bad. But that's the thing is like you kind of just get used to it. Like you get used to that program. But then like in season this year, like I didn't honestly work out that much. Like I
go light.
Yeah, like honestly, like first couple rounds I was still like 2-3 days a week, ride 2 days, 3 days sometimes. But then like the last couple rounds, I worked out like once. Like it was not like like I was riding a little bit more than I was, say, at the gym. But also we've done all of our training leading up.
Totally. Like you're not going to make any gains during the season.
Yeah, that's the thing. Some people are like mid-season, like, oh, I'm going to, I need to train harder. I need to get, like, dude, you should have done all your work.
Done.
You should have done all your work like a month and a half
too late,
ago,
bro.
2 months ago. Like,
it's too late, bro.
That's the thing. Like I had like a gnarly training block, but then I'm like, all right, like let's ease into the season, more riding, less gym, less taxing on the body, like feel good. That was like my big thing this year is like, I want to feel good on my practice days where I'm on the bike and I'm not like, man, my legs are done right now. Like, like there were certain days when I was in boot camp where I showed up to ride and my legs were done from the pedal before.
And you're almost too worked to get anything good out of your ride.
Yeah. But so then I'm like, all right, like, but then like luckily that was only boot camp time. And then, all right, in season, like leading up to the season, like then I felt fresh every single time.
Then you probably felt so punchy.
Yeah. Like I felt fresh, but then I felt really fit too, to where it was like, all right, like I don't feel fresh in my legs, but then I'm tired in 2 laps. Like that was the thing. Like
so you basically do a 6-week boot camp focusing on your fitness.
Yeah.
And then like as you get closer to the season, it becomes it turns into mostly riding and then just like fitness maintaining.
Yeah.
I feel like a big part of what people forget too is the race weekends themselves. You're building fitness and breaking the body down on those race weekends as well. So your body needs at least, for me, 1, 2, 3 days to recover from that explosive of an exercise. So it's like, I'm building fitness naturally as the season goes on just from the races themselves.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, even you're never going to get the same amount of intensity you get at a race as you do in practice. Even with, say, me, you, Johnny, and like Cody Miller. Like, it's a pretty good group. We all go pretty good at practice, but we're still not going to ride the same intensity that we do at a race.
It's impossible.
Like, it's just, you can't make it happen, especially with not having water with where we're at.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which doesn't make it easy. But, like, that's the thing is, like, racing for me, like, I struggled with the arm pump really, really bad this year. Like, it got better, but that was, like, almost a thing of, like, I went to the first race and I had the worst arm pump literally in my entire life. And, like, second round was bad, but not as bad. And third round was a little bit better. And then fourth round, and then like fifth and sixth were like better, where I was only getting it like early on in the first moto, to where it's like, that's just a racing thing. Like I can't do that at practice. Like I can go throw down at practice. I don't get arm pump, or like I get a little bit, I can't get rid of it all night.
How much do you think arm pump is mental?
I think there's for sure a portion of it. I think it's a combination of things. People are like, oh, it's all mental. I'm like, it ain't all mental,
no.
dude. Like, there's no way. Like, I've even had the arm pump surgery. I
was going to ask about that. Like, did that help?
It 100%, like, I had it done 2018 is when I had it done. And it was, I had times, it was more when I was doing, honestly, works. I was doing works, and I was like, the faster races, I would pump up so bad. And literally there was times when I'd be on like fast races and I couldn't let off. I would be like wide open. I can't let off because my arms were just so locked. My wrist wouldn't move, to where it got so bad to where I was like, I'm honestly like endangering myself right now.
Bro, that's not kosher.
Yeah. So then I was like, all right, like I need to get this.
Literally endangering myself right now.
Yeah. Literally, I was like, I need to get this fixed. So I ended up getting it. There's only like a couple doctors that do it, and I got it done in Iowa. And then it was the best decision I made at the time.
Really?
Yeah, best decision. I made a dumb decision after that by racing a hard enduro 9 days later, which wasn't after surgery, which, they said I could ride 14 days after, and I took that as I could race 9 days after, which
typical dirt biker mentality.
Typical dirt biker mentality. They tell me 14 days, I'm good at racing 9.
It's like, well, I'm different. Yeah. I'm not a normal person. I'm different. So that means I can race in 9.
Yeah. And it was just, honestly, I think it hindered me, to be honest, because like my arms would dangle. It was such a weird feeling. I had my arms like wrapped and stuff, and I like fell and like reopened it a little bit at that race. And so it was still like such a good thing. And like I remember racing, and I was like, it was so weird to me that I could like push the first 30 minutes of a race, like at a works race. I was like, this is weird.
Like, I don't even know what to do with this.
I'm like, what do I do now? Like, But then the next year, in 2019, leading up to Endurocross, 7 days before I broke my wrist, the first round. So I broke my scaphoid and got surgery on that. And then when I came back, it was pretty much like I never got arm pump surgery.
Oh, really?
So like because
reverted.
like reverted, because I wasn't. You have to actually, like, when you get it, you have to like continue to work your muscles to get used to like that type of thing.
So it doesn't close back up.
So then when it closed back up, so then when I didn't do anything for like 4 months, it closed back up. So then I came back and I was like, well, that was sick. But like now they have a new thing. It's like Botox in your forearms. Have you seen that?
Oh.
It's like a new thing. Webb got it done.
Makes your arms look new again.
Yeah, Cody Webb got it done when he got all of his surgeries right before Endurocross this year.
What if like when we're like 50, 60 years old, our arms like start to sag, but we have like these weird areas of like Botox.
It's like stiff.
Yeah. Like the old ladies that have been getting Botox their whole life, but they're like,
yeah.
You're like, whoa, what happened to that lady?
Their face is all smooth and everything. All their arms are saggy.
It's like areas drooping around like these stills.
Yeah. So supposedly that's like the new thing. Supposedly like all the star Yamaha guys, it's like in the contract supposedly to like they have to get it.
What?
Yeah. But like Enzo Lopes, how he signed a star and never raced last year, Supercross, because he was like having arm weakness issues. He got that done and it like numbed the wrong muscle, and so his like arm weakness is like not there. So that's why he didn't race with Star last year.
What?
Yeah. So like there's like.
So there's risk to this.
Yeah. So there's like more risk because like even like Webb, when he rode for the first time, he was like, dude, it was like, honestly, I was kind of stressing out because it was like, he's like, I didn't have like arm pump, but he's like, I couldn't like hold on. Like I felt like if I was hit something, like my arms would just blow off. But he's like, it was like, he goes, I had to ride like for like a week, and then it came, you know, and then it was like, all right, I'm back to normal. But I was like, that honestly kind of sounds sketchy.
Bro, it's like a pharmaceutical drug advertisement. It's like, this will get rid of your headaches, but it's also going to cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, cause of death. You're like, whoa, this got out of hand quickly.
Yeah. You look like you've done one of those commercials before. You're spot on.
I did the voiceover for one.
Voiceover. It pays more.
Yeah.
It pays more than riding.
It probably would. That seems sketchy, though. It's like, all right, you could get this Botox in your forearms, and it might get rid of your arm pump, but it also might
end your career.
End your career.
Yeah, I was like, can you revert it? They're like, I was like you kind of like pull it back out.
I don't even know what Botox actually is, bro.
It's like a needle, and then it's like a liquid that like freezes muscles, where then like your muscles can't like contract.
That's why when chicks get it, they're like this.
Yeah, because like you know, like the top.
They're like, hey. They're like, hey.
Yeah. Some that get it so much, I'm like, oh my gosh. But yeah, that's like why like the top of your forehead, like, you know, like we have the little creases and all that. Yeah, like when you like lift your forehead up, like girls don't want that, so that's why they get like Botox. So then they're like, doesn't.
What's wrong with a little like wrinkle in the forehead though?
I don't know. I think it's fine. I don't see a problem with it.
Let's just start putting the word out there, like, hey, we don't care about a forehead wrinkle anymore.
Yeah, I don't understand what the non-forehead wrinkle is for. It's fine with me. It doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, it's just like your face.
Yeah.
It's
like your face is all eyebrows down. You're good.
Yeah. Like your face is just your face. If you
have longer hair, it covers half of it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
conversation went real.
It's easy to be critical when you're just so cute. You know what I mean? It's like, I can't help it.
It's easy, you know? GQ model.
It comes natural, dude. I can't help but be cute.
Yeah. We went real south on this conversation. We went from talking about motorcycles to talking about beauty products real quick.
To talking about cuteness.
Yeah.
Cuteness is important.
Yeah. Helps sell.
Cuteness is important.
Yeah. All the girls are over Jet. All of it.
He's got it going on. He's got the cuteness. He's got the skills. He's got the everything. Accent. He's got the accent.
Yeah. Works at all angles.
He's got the #1 plate. He's got it all. Full protege.
Yeah.
We can't all be perfect.
No, it's the way it goes.
Yeah, I mean, life is life, dude. Like, this idea of like everything being perfect all the time is so blown out, dude.
Oh yeah.
Just like what we were talking about with retirement, and dude, like it's just like so much societal pressure right now to like be perfect all the time. You know what I mean? And like, especially like, dude, the entrepreneurial culture like is almost detrimental, I think, because it's like this like work, be perfect, like society. It's like I think it's misleading in a lot of ways. Like,
well, yeah,
there's so much more to life than just like that working your whole life.
I think that's the problem too, is like even including the social media into like the being perfect thing is like everybody's stuff looks perfect. Even like you have these super wealthy people that are actually wealthy, you know, that have all this stuff. Say like Elon, that's got everything, and like maybe not even Elon, but like just social YouTubers, say, that have like all this insane money and go buy out all these cars and trash cars just for videos and like do all this stuff. So then you have like these people like Joe Blows or average people that are like, well, I want that money. Like, how do I get that money? And like they think like need to be perfect to get all that money and all that. And I'm like, to be honest, like more people than not are probably in debt and have way less money. Even the people that say have an Audi R8 or a Lamborghini or whatever it is, like a lot of those people probably actually in debt. They aren't even probably in, like, I saw like somebody showed me like this article, like, is unfortunate, but like this super wealthy guy owned a super wealthy business, passed away. They thought the business was like super wealthy. The guy's personal bank account was $8 million in debt. Like, and he left to his wife, and like he had kids, I think. He was like older. I think he was like 60 or something. But like, and it wasn't even like his business could sell for like to pay that off, you know? And it looked like the guy had all these, like the husband and wife had all these insane cars, every type of like you know, Gucci, YSL, purse, bags, all that. Like, you know, and like you can show a front is a thing. I'm like, I don't even know how you get in that much.
That's when you like caring about what other people think overrides your own like integrity. That's just like too much.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like, I don't do anything for looks, anything for that. Like if I'm so cheap. I hate spending money.
What car are you gonna get when you make it? Like, say you win an Endurocross Championship, you get that nice bonus check. What you gonna splurge on a vehicle?
I'm gonna get a Ford Transit.
That's not a bad idea.
I don't own a van. I own a truck right now.
Truck's good too.
Because I have a friend that owns a dealership, and you know he helps out a little bit there. Like, like I want a van. Like people are like, you can have 2 vehicles. I'm like, no, I can't afford 2 vehicles. Come on now.
Oh,
like,
come on, bro. You can do 2 vehicles.
We're on an off-road budget here, dude.
Bro, you're a 2 vehicle guy. Come on.
No, I ain't 2. I mean,
really?
My wife has a vehicle, so that counts. That's kind of honestly like our daily driver, and then my truck's like, you know, get to the track and not.
Well, and when you're supported, you don't really need a van. Like when they get your bike to the races, bro, that's so nice.
Oh yeah, so nice.
Bro, going back to factory life this year for me was like, oh my God, dude, this is so nice because I've been scrapping for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So like to go back to I'm like so grateful for it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, just like my level of gratitude and like appreciation for what actually was happening was like so high this year.
Yeah. It's definitely super nice, especially for, I would say more so for Endurocross. I mean, it's also nice for hard Enduro because you don't have to travel all the way across the U.S. But like also in ways like I want to get a van so then I can go like spend time back east, you know, like stay back east for like 2 weeks, because that's the problem. Like I fly from Arizona, that's in the middle of summer, that's dry as can be, silty, and I go to Tennessee or North Carolina and it's like muddy, rainy, slick, and I'm like,
so hard to
I'm
adapt.
A fish out of water over here.
Desert dog goes to the jungle.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. And like 6 hours into the race, I finally know how
to figure it out.
I finally start to figure out the conditions, but I'm like, oh, 6 hours in, I'm dead tired now, and you know, I'm so far
dude,
back.
that was always so hard for me going back east. Was like I need time to like ride and adapt, and like, dude, especially a place like TKO, there's like so many small little rocks, and like the heads of the rocks that like poke out are slick, where like the equivalent terrain, like the heads of the rock here, they're going to be grippy. Mm-hmm. So like every time you hit one of those little rocks, it's like slide. So the whole time you're just like, what is happening? Mm-hmm. Like I can't even, how do I ride this?
Yeah.
And it's like so frustrating, and like, but it takes time to adapt, and you're right, dude.
Yeah. That's
where it's like, if you had a fitted van where you could like go out there with 2 bikes, all your gear, tools, whatever, all your shit, just have like your shit, still stay somewhere, but like have all your shit with you, and then be able to just go ride like, you know, 3-4 times a week for, even if it's 2 weeks before the event, bro, that makes such a big difference, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing. Like there's some advantages, you know, to like driving out yourself and doing it, but then there's also so many advantages to say having your bike there. But if you can do both, you know, if you can afford to have a van, drive a van out, stay out back east and train, like it's the best of both worlds.
For sure. Well, I think I want like a 90s square body truck. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't know. A Chevy for sure. Probably a Ford though.
That'd be cool.
Just like a little straight square body, like maybe single cab or crew cab, doesn't really matter. Just like standard bed, just something like go, just like a kind of a daily driver, but just like an old truck.
Yeah, that's sick.
That's what I want.
Yeah, I think it'd be sweet to have like an old truck and, you know, refurb it up. Honestly, like I had a Ford Ranger for a good chunk of time. Dude, I literally still miss that thing. I'm like, I wish I had it, you know? It had like a few problems that like happened back to back, and I ended up, you know, dumping more money into it than probably what it was worth. So then like I had to get rid of it. But I was like, I like miss that thing, you know? And it was like older, smaller, like, and I'm like, I would rather drive that than like, obviously I have a Toyota Tundra right now, which is a super nice truck. But like, I kind of miss my Ranger. Like,
dude, for sure.
It's funny how like it doesn't matter, like the price. Like the price, things probably triple the price of the Ranger, if not more even.
Gets
like,
you from point A to point B.
Yeah, and literally, I was like, I love that thing. Like it was like I almost took better care of that than I do my nice truck. Like, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like works. I got this cheap little truck. I had a Nissan Frontier, and I loved that truck, bro.
I remember when you had that.
Yeah. And like, dude, I had my pool stuff in it back when I had my pool service business. And you know what? I want to know one thing that I love so much about that truck. And it was like such a simple thing that I loved so much. I could reach and like pick up a tie down from like the middle of the bed.
Yeah.
Without getting in the back of the truck. even now I got a half ton, like my Ram half ton. It's like I can almost reach like to the middle, like pick up something off the bed.
Like just short.
Yeah, like just short. But like, dude, just being able to like be bigger than my truck was so nice to be able to like just so throw the bike in, like don't even get in the back of the truck ever, really. Just like load your bike from the side. It's nice.
Yeah, I literally half-time won't even use a ramp. I just like wheel it in, lift it in, and all right, here we go.
Like Twitch, just like wheel it into the back. Dude, and like it goes to show, it doesn't matter what kind of truck you have. It doesn't matter what external things you have, bro. We're all just like the same. You're just like the same person, just trying to do your best.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And like thinking that like, oh, once I get a Lamborghini or once I get a square body or once I get this, then I'll be happy. It's like, always, that ain't true. That is not how it is. You need to find that happiness within yourself first, right now, and then, you know, that might bring a little bit of marginal extra, but more shit is not the answer.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Even like some of the richest people are like, oh, once I got rich, like I thought I'd be all good. And it's like, honestly, there's more stress and more on my plate now than what there was when, say, I had like less money when I was like, you know, living comfortable, but not to where I was like multi-million-dollar people, you know? Like, I'm like, that's the thing, is it's not always greener on the other side.
It's not.
You know, sometimes a simple life is the best life, and you know, you don't really need a whole lot in life to be happy. And if you have the right people around you, it's honestly the best way.
You could argue that less is more.
Yeah,
you could argue that the less shit that you have makes you more happy because you have more time to focus on the things that you do.
Yeah,
every motorcycle you have in the shop, in the garage, every truck, every vehicle you have, that's more insurance, that's more registration, that's more air to keep in the tires, that's more maintenance, more fuel. It's like, more is great, but more is also more.
Yeah, a lot more.
It's a lot more. And every little thing, and it all adds up, dude, slowly. But
yeah, it's like, at what point is it enough too?
Exactly.
Like, that's the thing. Once people get so much, like they just keep adding to their collection. It's like, at what point is it like, all right, perfect, you know? Like there is no point. You know, once you start kind of that trend of like, I need this and I need that and I want that and I want that, like you're just going to continue. Like,
it's just going to
continue. Where you continue to where like some of the wealthiest people become poor because they start that trend and then they get it to where they can't control it, consume it, and they can't like handle it.
It's like insatiable.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to be paycheck to paycheck, but you know, enough to where I can pay my bills and, you know, enjoy my life and still go do my things I enjoy. Like, I don't need a fancy car and all that other stuff.
Well, you're the man, Cooper. Congratulations this year, dude. I feel like you had a good year, dude. 3rd overall. Did you win a moto this year?
No, you beat me on that. You got me on a moto win. No, I was just like Mr. Consistent.
You had a good year.
Yeah, it was a good year. Like, it was.
You had some challenges.
There's definitely some challenges that were kind of, you know, we hid under the rug, and, you know, it is what it is. But there's some opportunities missed. But it's like we said before, like you can't look back on those. And I was happy with some of my riding, and then there were certain rounds when I didn't ride as well, you know. But that's racing and riding, and that's kind of how you learn from it. And yeah, I mean, obviously I'm like stoked on 3rd. Like, it's obviously there was like the year where a couple of guys were out, and I think you finished 3rd in the championship, and I was 2nd in the championship.
Was that 21?
I believe it was 21. Yeah. It would have been my last year in KTM. Yeah, so. Yeah, obviously there's like that year, and people are like, oh, you got 2nd that year? And like most people don't even know about it, but it's like this one, even though it's 3rd, is like more meaningful because it was like, all right, like this was raw. Like this was, all right, I had the raw pace. You know, I had everything to be the 3rd place guy. Obviously, Johnny leaving, like, yeah, that kind of, you know, could say gifted 3rd in a way. But I also was like 9 points behind him before he obviously won the moto before he left, you know? So it wasn't that far back, you know, to where at least it was like, all right, like I was there and I wasn't, say, way off the pace, you know? There's still a little step to get to where Tristan and Colton, those guys were this year, but I mean, that's why there's next year and the year after that. So.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, it's like that 2021 when I got 3rd and you got 2nd, like, yeah, that was great. That was massive accomplishment, but also the series is more competitive than it's ever been. The last like couple years have been absolutely insane, and just putting it on the podium is putting in the top 5 is like an incredible feat. Like, we have the world's best here right now, I think. I mean, obviously Billy's not here, and like the Brightmoor, like there's a couple European guys that aren't here, guys. But like, bro, for the most part, dude, if you're top 10, it's gnarly. You're gnarly.
Yeah, like I got 3 podiums this year, and I think that was actually better than I even did in 21. And like, I was like, like if I would have like came to this year and said 3 podiums. Like, all right, yeah, that's a pretty good year.
I'll take
like
it.
How stacked it is.
For sure.
Like, it's gnarly. Like, I mean, if you include Billy and, like, yeah, you maybe have the Brightmores and, like, Eddie Carlson or whatever, like, those guys, maybe top 5 kind of guys. But, like, Billy's kind of the only guy that was like, all right, yeah, he'd be there to win. But outside of that, like, everybody's here. Even Johnny talked about it. Was like, it's the group in the U.S. is gnarly. Like, and we're getting a lot of the Europeans over here, which is making it even gnarlier, which is awesome, but also makes it a lot harder for all of us to get some bonuses. So
I know
it's like a love-hate relationship with it, I think it makes all of us better, which is cool.
For sure.
And it grows our sport, like the battle, between even Tristan and Colton, like, it just intensifies everything so much more having everybody.
What do you think about that altercation between Tristan and Colton? Like, what's your take on it?
Put me in the middle of this now.
Put you on the spot a little bit. I mean, you could say neutral, but it's like, what do you think of it?
There's definitely, I think it was a bit, I think Colton's past doesn't help the situation as well with it, what happened. There are certain angles I saw where I was like, all right, like, look, I don't think it was on purpose, like, yeah, it was a bit of a cross jump for sure. But then I saw a couple angles where I was like, yeah, that was pretty bad. Like, I don't think that was a good look on Colton's part, Like, it is what it is, Like, luckily they were both okay. But, like, that's not the way you want to race, to be honest. Like, he beat him fair and square, to that point. Like, why do anything like that?
Why cross jump? Right.
I mean, that one was, with the angles I saw, I would say that one was pretty dirty, Like, it just wasn't necessary. It's not how our sport is. Let's keep it out of it.
Bro, and that's coming from somebody that loves rubbing and racing, bro. Yeah. Like, me and you have raced each other as hard as anybody, bro. Yeah.
But, like, I'm not going to do anything dirty. Like, yeah, maybe
I don't want to hurt you.
I'll have an accident, like, you misjudge something, you slam the crap out of somebody.
Dude, like what I did to Will earlier this year.
Yeah. Yeah, like, you misjudged something. Ryder did that to me. Literally, I heard the exact same thing that you and Will did. Ryder and I did the same thing.
Is that when your finger got jacked up too?
My finger.
Dude, literally the same exact thing.
So it was like, that's just a misjudgment. Like, yeah, there's going to be heatedness between that, but, like, there's a difference between misjudging something and, intentionally doing something dirty.
Yeah,
and,
doing
like,
something with malice.
Yeah. So that's the thing is, like, we want gnarly competition. Like, the heatedness in our sport, it's good for our sport.
For sure.
But, like, we want clean, aggressive racing.
Yeah, and we want to all keep racing. It's like, you don't want to intentionally hurt somebody.
Yeah, like, can you imagine, like, if he actually got hurt from that? Like, that would have blew the championship apart, That
would have been really shitty.
Yeah. So, like, fortunately, they were both okay.
Yeah.
But it's like, it easily could have gone a different way with how sketchy that was.
Totally. Jumping and landing. Like, Tristan did a good job of tucking and rolling and kind of, like, staying out of it. But, yeah, I was like, I don't know, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then, like, I try to give Colton the benefit of the doubt. I mean, he, maybe when he was looking over, he was just pulling himself over. I'll have to have him on so he can talk about it. But, I guess it's not really our place to, like, make a judgment on it. But just from the outside looking in and seeing it, and then, like, yelling at Tristan afterwards, like, bro, why are you yelling at him?
Yeah,
you won the race.
Yeah, that's what I thought was funny is, like, like, they're in each other's faces, and I'm like, he's just stirring it up. It reminded me of, like, Colton Cody from, like, 2018 or whatever it was, like 2017 maybe, where, like, I remember Colorado, like, when we used to do, like, head-to-heads.
Yeah.
I remember, like, I think it was Colorado head-to-head, and, like, Cody got out front, and Colton just absolutely T-boned him, and it was like, man, that was like so good though, because it was like that was in the sport was like killing it because there was just so much
action
and like heatedness between
emotions.
Like, yeah, there's so much emotion between the two, and like it's cool. We all get along pretty well, I would say, for pretty much all of us throughout Endurocross. There's a couple guys, that we don't necessarily get along with, but we don't not get along with. But
right,
it's like it's good to have heated battles. I think it helps the sport.
I think so too.
Supercross, like you see, like there's heatedness. Some guys don't get along. I think we can all get along, decently, kind of how we do. But I think there can also be, all right, once the helmet's gone, let's throw
battle.
Down.
Yeah,
let's throw down. But like, don't pull any dirty stuff.
Yeah, totally, for sure. Yeah, and I was like, that's why whenever I see Colton now, I'm like, oh, the villain, he's back in villain mode. Yeah. He's back in villain mode, because you could see it like when he switches, you know what I mean? And then, but hey, whatever.
He switches quick. Even does. Like in his interviews, like he'll win a mode, and then the interview comes and it's like different guy.
Yeah,
like it's funny.
He's an interesting cat.
Yeah,
definitely an
like,
interesting cat.
Sometimes so chill, and then sometimes like he knows how to light a fire.
Bad boy chill.
Yeah. Yeah, like he's super laid back family guy, and then like can light a fire and
for sure
stir things up.
For sure. Well, Coop, we've been at it for how long? Like, what do we got here?
Probably almost 2 hours.
2 hours. Yeah, 2 hours. Dude, it's an honor to get to race with you.
Yeah.
You're the man. I love training with you. I feel like we're fortunate to have each other close by. Congratulations on a solid year. We're healthy. We're moving forward. It's all good. And are we going to see you at Hard Enduros this year?
Yeah.
Okay, sick.
I appreciate that. And yeah, congrats on your year. It was fun to practice and race together. And we actually didn't have a lot of battles, I feel like, during the season. I don't feel like we ever were like next to each other. So it's kind of weird. But we had plenty of practice battles to talk about. And yeah, it was nice. So yeah, I'll be at for sure all the West Hard Enduros. Depending on what happens with Super Enduro, depends if I'll be at East or not. So I at least will be at all the West for sure. And I'll talk my way into doing all the East too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sick. Well, my man, let's go for a ride.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thanks for coming in, and I'm sure we'll be doing more of this, and all good, brother.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, bro. Yeah, for sure. Good shit.
Good shit.
All right.